Welcome to RPG Archive. We got a hell of a show today. It's going to be long. And today we have Alex from Turbo Zone, dear friend, Alex.
Da 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 Turbo Zone. That's me.
Yeah, he's our resident Final Fantasy fan.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first one I've ever done with you, but yeah.
Yeah, we did Persona 5, and then we did a full one for Near Automata. No, Near Replicant.
Yeah, we did Near Replicant, and then I also did SMT4 with Teddy.
SMT4, yeah. So you've actually hosted before. Wait, were you hosting? Or was Teddy hosting?
No, Teddy hosted that, man. That was long for the ride.
This is going to be a long one. We're doing Final Fantasy VII Remake. This won't be as long as the Dragon Quest XI one. Thanks, Brian.
How long was that? How long was Dragon Quest XI?
Legit like 4 hours.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I assume this one will clock in at about 2 to 2.5. But yeah, if you're at home just listening to something like this, you'd sit back, put a game on, and just enjoy us talking about the history and the game that is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Alex is in a bit of a hurricane situation, so if you hear little fuzzies going on in his audio, it's just that's Mother Nature taking her toll.
I think I'm okay right now, but
yeah.
I might have to pull a limit break on the hurricane. You know, I might have to.
Oh shit!
Oh, no.
Alex, of course, is on Turbo Zone Gaming, as he wants me to say.
I want you to say it, but I have to say it that way. It's called being searchable.
What do you have going on the show these days?
On Turbo Zone Gaming, yeah, over there on Turbo, you can just call it Turbo Zone. I have to put the gaming there because there's like a bunch of car shows called Turbo Zone, and I'm not searchable as just Turbo Zone, so I had to fucking tack that shit on. Yeah. Better than changing the name entirely, right? I guess. I do a few different fun series over there. I have a podcast series called Hey Geeks and Gamers where I talk to other people. Spencer's been on one of them, yeah. And I have I do a series called 5 Cheap Games where I show 5 cheap games, and I have a series called The Filthy Black Table where I do a low effort video with my hands and it gets thousands of views. I don't know why those do well, but those are the least effort I put into anything, and they're the ones that perform. Yeah. So yeah, I have a bunch of different content going on over there. Nothing Final Fantasy related though, really. So this is out of left field. As you Final Fantasy fans, go subscribe. I got nothing for you.
Don't even bother.
I streamed some Kingdom Hearts. You can watch that, I guess.
There you go. You get some Kingdom Hearts in there. And then, of course, we're on the Button Mappers together with Teddy.
Yeah, we just wrapped up Final Fantasy month over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the tail end of that now. I guess we're actually beyond it.
So if you're here enjoying Final Fantasy, maybe check out the Button Mappers. We did a whole month about it. So
yeah,
cool. All right, well, let's talk about Final Fantasy VII. What is your history with this? I guess with specifically Final Fantasy VII, because I'm sure at some point we'll talk about other ones. But Final Fantasy VII specific, what's your history?
7 is interesting because like a lot of the identity that we see in modern Final Fantasy, or just Final Fantasy as a brand, is spawned from the success of 7 here. It came out, was it 97, right? Something like that. 98. Was it 97 or 98? 7, I think.
97 or 90, maybe even 97, I think.
And then it was so popular and successful, it basically fueled Square Enix to make dumb mistakes for the next 10 years. And I mean, it basically became the brand. If you know Final Fantasy, you know Cloud Strife. I didn't play a lot of 7 as a kid. I played like a bunch of the 7 spin-offs, and I actually had a friend growing up that I watched him play 7. I wasn't into turn-based RPGs then, but I remember watching him play 7 and enjoying it that way. And then I watched like the Advent Children movie, the Dirge of Cerberus spinoff. I played Crisis Core on PSP. Like 7 was still a brand, like going strong through the 2000s. Even though that game died after
Hmm.
'97. You know, they moved on from it in terms of the main series, but they kept Seven going as a brand. Um, so a lot of the things that I first knew about Final Fantasy growing up were spawned from Seven. Even like appearances in games like Kingdom Hearts, Cloud Strife was like a big character in the first one. And it was like, oh, he's cool. He's got a big Buster Sword and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, to me, Seven was like the image of the brand at that time.
Yeah, I played a little bit before that. I played it on the Super Nintendo. I think it was 2. I didn't play 3, which of course is 6. I don't know, a little trivia for you.
So, two is four,
Two is,
right?
two is 4. Now stay with me. No, we're not going to do all that. But yeah, when 7 came out, it was weird because I was in that phase too where I didn't like turn-based games, which is weird because the next big game I would play is Pokemon, and I'd be like, oh, I guess turn-based is okay. But at the time, yeah, I was like, I don't understand why anybody. My friend was playing it, and I was just like, I don't get it. Looks cool, but like, why would you just let somebody wail on you? I just didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny that now it's like all I play. Um, but yeah, 7 was cool. I tried to play it a lot growing up. As I got older and got into like Chrono Trigger and stuff, I tried, and I could never really get much further than Midgar. I would just like lose interest in it. But we ended up beating it for button mappers,
Yeah.
so that was great, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
Oh, yeah. It's like one of my favorite RPGs, and yeah, because we powered through it for the button mappers, and I was able to actually get through the later parts of the game that I hadn't seen before,
Hmm.
and I fucking love. I mean, even though I didn't finish it for the episode, but I actually like finished it after the episode. I still played it after the episode came out
Hmm.
and finished it on my own time. And yeah, it's like in terms of like my top 5 RPGs, it's up there.
Really,
Yeah, so, 7 is.
I don't know if I'd put it in. Well, maybe that's got to be a video in and of itself at some point, I assume. Interesting. Yeah,
You
it's
are RPG Archive.
yeah. I get scared when I think of that name and that branding because it's I don't want to be labeled as somebody that's like an expert on RPGs because I'm in no way that. I just wanted to archive the RPGs that I play. So I get nervous when
Yeah.
it's like, please don't look at me like I'm supposed to know all about RPGs because there's a bunch of RPGs I wouldn't even give a shit about, like the Tales of series. Like you could not.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah, I literally only I mean I like Symphonia, but I literally only know Symphonia. Somebody asked me like, "Hi, how's Tales of Vesperia?" I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I've never even looked at that game." To tell you,
yeah,
I don't know. I couldn't tell you what characters are in that game.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, no, 7 was cool. Were you excited about the remake when they announced it?
Yeah, I bet it. Yes, for a few reasons. For one, because I had gotten into Final Fantasy by that point, like pretty deep into Final Fantasy. Around like the PS3, PS4, really PS4, I started getting more into playing more RPGs. And of course, Final Fantasy was an easy one to pick up. They started re-releasing all the games, so it gave me an excuse to go back and play some of them that I hadn't experienced before, and then replay some that I had. Um, and I was really interested because, like, well, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but they had sort of teased this idea for a long time of like remaking Seven, and never actually did. And it always seemed like it was just like all like gaming outlets would always talk about it, like oh, a seventh remake is going to come, and this has been going on forever. So the fact that they were actually like confirmed to do it was exciting for me, and also the fact that it was being led by Tetsuya Nomura, which Kingdom Hearts fame and other Final Fantasy projects was troubling but cool to hear. I have mixed thoughts on that guy. But I was like, okay, well, at least I know it's going to be a game that's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I was excited for Seven Ring.
I remember being hanging out with JD and Eric. We had started the Itch Network somewhat recently from that, and we had all decided that we were going to take the day off from work from our prospective jobs and respective jobs. Sorry, and we just hung out for E3, And so we were sitting on Eric's couch, and then they did that trailer, and JD like shot up from his seat, and it was like our first big moment together. So
That was like the big PS4 one, right? Big
yes,
PS4. Yeah, because they showed it. That was a crazy E3 for them. Because they had like that, and then also, I mean, I know you don't care, but they had like Shenmue 3 was like a big
yeah.
announcement. Yeah, yeah, it was
I
like,
don't, you know,
holy, oh my god!
just because I don't love the game doesn't mean like I don't respect a big announcement. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm just
Shenmue
saying,
3
like,
was huge.
yeah, like it was like these dream projects were being announced.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there were other big ones too that were. I think like I don't know. I think that was it, but I know like there was talks about like Crash Bandicoot and stuff. I don't know. There was like a bunch of other like dormant IPs that like Sony were like, remember this, like remember this,
Yeah.
and then they were just sort of like digging up the past almost.
Hmm.
And yeah, I remember was this the 7 trailer with the it just showed him walking through Midgard and like showed like the like a close up of like the Buster Sword and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like
It had the
yeah,
music.
yeah.
Yeah. It was very little. It was almost nothing, but just the fact
It was just
it's just the acknowledgement that it exists, I think, is what makes it big. Yeah. You ready to get into the development?
let's go.
All right. I'm trying some things here. Development. That looks like shit. Whatever. Okay, let's talk about the development of the game. So, in the originally, like you mentioned, this takes place in the PS2 era. In the early 2000s, Square announced a remake for PlayStation 2 alongside Final Fantasy 8 and 9, but nothing further was heard of the project. It was abandoned because of the increased challenge of developing on new hardware and would have necessitated cutting content. The staff were preoccupied with developing Final Fantasy 13 and its sequels, and Remake would have been an equally large or larger project hard to undertake at the same time. It's a weird way to word that. I don't know if there's a typo there. Once the 13 series ended, the team was free to pursue other, etc. Sorry, that wasn't meant to be read. But so yeah, and basically a PS2 era remake of Final Fantasy 7. What do you think that would look like?
That's odd. I mean, for one, just the idea of them remaking a game from PS1 on PS2 like that soon
Well, ironically,
seems,
now it's commonplace.
which I hate still.
Yeah, now literally every game that you see that comes out that sells more than 1 million copies, you can basically guarantee it'll be remade onto the next console.
Sony won't stop doing those, man. With like The Last of Us, and then Horizon, and then like Until Dawn, they just keep remaking games that they made last generation.
Mm-hmm.
um, it makes sense with the success of 7 why they would want to bring it over to PS2. I'm honestly surprised that that didn't actually happen. But in terms of what it would look like, I think it would be a much different game than what this is for sure. It'd probably be a lot closer to the original because they were still sort of like with games like 10 and stuff at that time and 12 they were still kind of in like sticking to the basic JRPG style,
Mm-hmm.
so it probably would have been closer to the original 7 than what we have now. um
Yeah, I'm trying to think like where it would fall because Final Fantasy X was 2000,
yeah, and then 12 was 6,
2006.
and then we don't count 11 because it's an MMO.
Yeah, 11's like a separate
Sorry,
project.
MMO fans. We're not counting it.
So by 2006, we can assume they'd started 13.
Yeah.
Archive on that one maybe incoming. I'm not sure. We'll figure that one out. That would be an interesting one to do. But we can assume that they had started working on 13. So theoretically, somewhere in between 2000 and 2006, that might have been where Final Fantasy VII Remake would have lied. They also announced here that it would be 8 and 9 as well.
That's weird.
Let's not do that, but that is interesting. That might be another topic for another time. But 7 specifically, I'm trying to think what they would do. I think it would probably, for the most part, just be a remastering of it. You think that?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because like, I mean, this was still in, again, like I said earlier, this was still in the era of them like expanding the 7 universe with games like Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, whatever the fuck that movie's called. I named it earlier. Children.
Advent
Something. What was it
Children.
called? Advent Children. Thank you. I actually kind of like that movie. Advent Children. Like they were expanding the universe, so it would have made sense for them to have a more readily available version of 7 on store shelves. Yeah, I think it would have just been like a remastering or something. Maybe like I'm sure they could have just gone in and maybe made some higher quality models. Make the characters don't look all blocky during like the the in game cutscenes and stuff. Maybe I don't know what they could have changed.
I guess it's a controversial opinion, but I actually don't hate the models in 7.
I don't either,
Having played some Final Fantasy 4, like during the Super Nintendo era, it was kind of interesting to see those kinds of models, but in like a 3D-ish type of perspective.
Yeah.
So I don't actually hate them, and I don't think they look bad. Obviously, if you're going to be like, well, think about 9 or 8 versus those. I mean, yeah, I suppose it's certainly there's a contrast there, but I don't hate them. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
but
they're
by
charming.
that point, like by like the PS2, like the JRPGs in terms of like style and stuff, like especially Final Fantasy had changed so much. I think it would have changed to fit more of like maybe the 10 style.
Yeah, I could see it. They would probably get rid of that blockiness entirely. I don't know what I would think about that, but I would be cool. I'd be open to it. I probably would have played it over the
Oh
PS1
yeah.
version. So yeah. All right. This next little bit. The remake project began when Final Fantasy producer Shinji Hashimoto broached the subject to Kitase, Nohima, and Nomura. All three were reaching a stage of life that they defined as that age. All felt that if they waited much longer, they might not be alive to, or would be too old to develop a remake. And passing the project on to a new generation did not feel right. So I'm going to stop there. What do you think about that, of not wanting to give this to somebody else? Do you think another person could have done this, or do you like that it stuck with the originals?
I don't know what what the product we have right now. I don't know how I feel about that statement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I did want to ask something though, because up top it does say, before we get to this part, it did say that they wanted to pursue this after the 13 series ended. Is that counting 15? Because that was like a part of the 13 thing at first.
I don't know. It got my source got a little wild with that. I didn't want to.
Okay,
It
yeah, I was
got
thinking
it got
like
long, and
I
I was
know
like,
I know 15 started as like versus 13, and then it got shifted to 15. So like I
yeah,
was like, is that still considered part of that time period, or like?
yeah.
Weird.
It just said that. It basically, my source just said like they were talking again about remaking it in like the late PS3 era, and I was just like, I mean,
I
they did
know.
it in PS4, so who gives a shit? At that
I
point?
know on PS3 they released at one of the E3s they released like a tech demo that literally just said tech demo.
It was like Cloud and Sephiroth, I think.
Yeah, and they were like, it's Final Fantasy 7 remake tech demo. It was like, well, okay,
Yeah,
well, it's not real.
yeah. It just seemed like
Um,
fake news or something, so I just said, fuck it.
yeah, I don't know how to feel about this statement, honestly. I don't know. That seems like a very I don't know that seems like something in Japanese culture maybe I don't understand, but like I don't know if these guys were the guys to do it to do the remake, or the right guys. I mean,
Yeah, I don't. It's tough because part of me thinks like I would like to see it with a new set of eyes.
yeah,
Um, in some ways, perhaps this game feels too much like the original. Perhaps, I don't know. But when I see them say that, like, they didn't want to pass it on to a new generation. That almost just seems like them signaling to veterans of the series, like veteran players of the series, like, "Hey, it's the original guys, so don't worry." Which I could get into a whole thing on that. I almost feel like Final Fantasy VII created dude bro RPG players, where
mm,
it's like 7 was their first, so that's the one that they measure everything to, and it's like it's got to be badass, and it's got to be like your hero's got to be cool and like a little whiny, like bordering on whiny, and then some of them are whiny. Whereas like before Final Fantasy VII, there were hints of characters and stuff, but they weren't like that. Like they were more like chivalrous knights, more classic takes on RPGs. And not saying one is better than the other, but it's just you can tell like who the people that started with seven are, because that's like the model of what a Final Fantasy VII is supposed to be, and it's not at all like what they were before it. So
Those are the same guys that watch Naruto. So
yes,
yeah, that's that crowd.
100, and we can get into that. Is that a lot of them equate, which we can talk about this because I think we have a different opinion on this, but a lot of them equate that to like anime, and it's like Final Fantasy should be like an anime, and they watch Dragon Ball Z and Naruto and those kinds of things, and that I think that all maybe at the same time, like Dragon Ball Z was probably starting to get big in America. I don't know the exact times.
Yeah, around 7. Yeah, or
mm-hmm.
that they definitely circled each other.
Okay, yeah, and so, but to me, they don't cross. Like they have, obviously there's Japanese influence, and they like there's things that you can like from both that are similar. But to me, Final Fantasy never really crossed into anime until probably 13. That's where it was like, okay, now they're the same thing. But like before,
I don't know, man. I would even argue like 10, maybe.
Yeah,
there's
elements, yeah, I guess, but to me, it just wasn't really the point. It wasn't supposed to be like an anime, and then 13 they threw all that out the window to me. But I mean, there was like art of it. You could create art, but that's just kind of part of making fantasy games is you'll have art.
Yeah.
But it never really was supposed to be to me an anime. But I think the 7 fans really do think of it as an anime. And teach their own, but I just think it's a different understanding of the game.
That movie doesn't help either.
No. I think by then it's just become like an anime.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is anime.
And I think they're marketing to that crowd still. Like that's the crowd that this is for. And so I guess it makes sense that they would be like, yeah, the original people are still on it because those fans would be mad if like somebody else took it.
But that means almost nothing. They do that all the time with these kind of projects. It's like the guy that worked on the old Final Fantasy games always does stuff, and it's like the guy that brought you the old Final Fantasies, and it's like he'll make some other thing that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it was some shitty phone game that we're all supposed to say.
Yeah,
that's pretty
or like
good.
yeah, or now he's doing one on the Switch that looks kind of bad, and I'm like, I mean, good on him, I guess, but like again, it means almost the name alone means almost nothing.
100%, yeah. Yeah, there's very few names where you can attribute that to. It's like Kojima. You can say like that's gonna have a specific style that I can vibe with.
Yeah.
Your guy, what's his name?
Yoko Taro.
Yoko Taro. It's like it's gonna be there's like a vision going on there.
Yeah.
Even like big names like Miyamoto, I can't really pin down like because it's just like basic gameplay. There are a few people.
Yeah, whatever. People are like, it's a Miyamoto game. Nobody's talking about Star Fox Zero. They're talking about fucking Ocarina of Time,
Yeah,
yeah. It's like, well, he's made as many Star Fox Zeros.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's pretty rare that you have a name like that where it's like, and it's funny to think about that most of the people that probably like Final Fantasy VII specifically probably don't even know who Nomura is.
I know Nomura because I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan. That's the only reason I know Nomura. But
well, speaking of Kingdom Hearts, another reason for developing the remake was that Square Enix was creating a growing library of PlayStation 4 titles, and the team hoped to increase the console's popularity. Nomura was appointed as director, much to his own surprise, when it was decided to create the remake, but he was busy with the making of the video game Kingdom Hearts 3 at that time. I think we both actually played Kingdom Hearts 3, which is a bizarre universe that we live in where that's happened.
Yeah.
He was making Kingdom Hearts 3 while he was making this. I think he finished 3 first.
Yeah, 3 came out 2019.
Hmm.
I think
Something like
18.
that.
I don't know, somewhere around there. I think it might be 2018. I don't know. But and then this came out like a year later or a year or two later. Um, so yeah, they're very closely. I didn't even know he did that much for Seven Remake until I beat it and saw him like in the credits, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I'm like, the more I work on this, I thought he was busy.
Real quick, Branch. What are your thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 3? I suspect we'll never do an archive on it, or at least I will never. So
you look, you're the one that won't play them, okay?
I played this one. What are your thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 3?
Kingdom Hearts 3 is a bunch of loose ends duct taped together and presented as a final chapter. That's all it is. And they basically said, okay, we because Nomura is terrible at writing stories. So it's basically Nomura went, okay, I set up all of these story plot threads through like 9 games. I have to make them all make sense for this big game. We've been leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3 for years. That's all anybody's talked about. Kingdom Hearts 3, the Dark Seeker Saga, Xehanort's Return. And then he just said, okay, well, half of this half of the resolutions are just gonna happen in the final chapter, and it's gonna be stupid. half the game is still just going around hanging out with fucking Ratatouille rat and like fucking guy from Frozen and stuff. It's
Mhm.
like no, it's Kingdom Hearts. And if you expected, if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan and you expected that game to be anything more than just another Kingdom Hearts game, I'm sorry.
I gotta say, as someone who never beat any of the other Kingdom Hearts, I played a good chunk of one and nothing else. I was so confused by everything. But I tried my best not to hold my opinion on the story against it because I just didn't know what was going on. Um, and the gameplay just felt very boring to me. I'm actually
Oh, you didn't like
surprised
it?
that I finished it. I'm very confused actually as to
Oh,
why.
did you
Yeah,
beat it?
I beat it. I beat the
Oh
whole
Lord.
thing. And I remember being
Oh.
like, of all the games that I've put down in my life, and like of all the times that I've quit things, it's bizarre that I beat this one. Because
Yeah, I'm surprised you beat that because the last 2 hours of that game was just
story,
complete nonsense. Yeah, it's
story
just
about names I've never heard of and have no idea why they matter. It was bizarre.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I tried not to hold that against it because it's just like, well, clearly I didn't play the other one, so I can't speak to it. But the gameplay, I just didn't really like very much. Uh, anyway, that's enough for Kingdom Hearts 3 forever.
Or is it?
Um, let's talk about the voice acting. This got a little weird because I was trying to some of the stuff that I found in the development. I put in the actual game section. Um, so I don't know. This might not really go here, but we'll try it. Even in this early part of the game, this is from a an interview series that they did called Final Fantasy VII Remake Revisited. If you want to look into like very specific things about how like very very specific about how they built each section of the game, I recommend it. It's called Final Fantasy VII Remake Revisited, and they have it for every single chapter. So 18 different versions of this. Even in this early part of the game, the script is already far more detailed than the original Final Fantasy VII. How was the original script used in the creation of Remake, and how much did it need to be adapted? And they said the role that the script plays in the game has changed a lot in the time between who made the original and the remake. At the time of the original Final Fantasy VII, all a script needed to do was to convey the initial story of the game. But nowadays, it is also used as a script for the motion capture and voice recordings with actors who don't know a lot about the game. It also needs to contain a lot more detail about the backdrops and locations that don't exist yet. So everyone on the extended development team are all working towards the same image. So I want to ask you, what is your opinion on the voice acting in this game, and just the motion capturing, I suppose.
Um, I mean, I didn't have that much of an issue with the voice acting in this game. I thought it was pretty well done. Um, I like the fact that there's voices for characters that never I never had the chance to experience in that way. Like what's the fat guy's name? Biggs.
Yeah.
What his name is? Wedge? Or I don't know what his
Wedge.
name is. Wedge. There we go. Wedge is voiced by fucking Badger from Breaking Bad, which is
I
distracting.
knew I recognized that
That's
guy.
so distracting when I'm playing and he talks because all I can think of is a helicopter, bitch.
Dude, I was like, I know this guy's voice. Where have I heard
That's
this before?
Badger.
That's
That's him.
funny.
Yeah, I mean, like
Okay.
I thought the voice acting was pretty good and serviceable. I see what they mean. I mean, obviously, games today are basically movies, and games of PS1 era were still, you know, video games. So, um, I understand the need to for like a more in-depth script and look at the world, you know, in terms of everything and motion capturing. Um, which leads to like one of my biggest problems with this, not like problems per se with this game, but like with the new versions of 7 and like where they're going with it. But I thought the voice acting was fine. I liked him. I don't think there's anybody that really bothered me. The first time I played it, man, I'll talk about my first like experiences with the game later, but I didn't like Barrett the first time I played it because
Mm,
I thought Barrett was just like the was just too like stereotypical almost like he was just like Mr. T basically.
yeah.
um but you know what? I sort of like I love Barrett. By the time I finish the game, Barrett's awesome. So it's like it stopped bothering me.
So I'm I'm pretty okay with the voices per se. The voice, like the acting part of it, the movements, I actually do have some gripes with, and I feel guilty because I beat this game after having completed Baldur's Gate 3
Oh
um
well, that's the problem
two
there.
times, yeah. Uh, and I feel like they really did it better there. But it's not really fair because that's like kind of the point of the game
Yeah.
versus 7, which is more like, the Final Fantasy hack and slash. So it almost feels like a cheat answer. But I will say that I think with 7, my big problem is that they reuse a lot of animations for characters. You can tell that they were like, Tifa has like 10 animations that she can do. So let's just do those and try to fit them in the right spots. And it gets a little weird when the characters are just so expressive. And this might be like an anime thing that I just don't attach myself to, where they'll be like, so like you go, Tifa, where is Shinra headquarters? And she'll say, Shinra headquarters is down there, but make sure that you stop by the thing that goes
Oh,
over
okay,
here.
yeah.
And then they go over and they the duck and bob and it's like, guys, let's just chill. Like you don't need to go this over the top for literally everything.
I don't know, man. I would still take that over like the Bethesda
Yeah.
characters where you talk to them and they're like, yeah, they're like, oh yeah, my father works in the mine
My
or whatever
father
it is.
took an arrow to
It's
the
like,
knee.
yeah, it's like I would okay, well, I'd rather have you guys move like that than not move at all, I guess. The
Yeah, I think there's an in between you can have.
happy medium.
Um
Yeah.
and hopefully they'll do that with the well, I haven't played, we'll talk about that later, but the Rebirth, I haven't played it, so hopefully
Me either.
they added or adjusted, and then hopefully by the third one they'll have polished that
Okay,
out.
what do you think the third one's gonna be called? They had remake, rebirth,
Um,
regurgitation.
um, I don't know. We'll talk about that when we get there.
Revenge. Cloud's back and he's pissed off.
He's yeah. Cloud's back. Um, yeah, I don't know. I thought the voice acting was a little fine, but the motion was odd. All right, here's the big one. While the team had the option of simply remastering Final Fantasy VII with better graphics, as many fans had requested, they noted that its graphics and many of its mechanics had become dated by modern standards. With this in mind, they decided to do a full remake, rebuilding the game systems to suit contemporary tastes and using current gaming technology to recreate the world. An overarching goal of the project was to make the game feel both new and nostalgic. for players of the original game while exemplifying the idea of Final Fantasy VII for new players. Let's pause there. Remake versus remaster. What do you think on
Oof.
that?
Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about my first experience with this game because I think it relates to this. And then I'll answer the question. When I first played Seven Remake, I thought it was really pretty, and the world was cool, and the characters were great. I fucking hated it the first time I played it.
Wow.
And it's because of what they said here, like to suit contemporary taste and using Seven didn't need to change, you know, to be a great game. It still is a great game, and then the fact that I played it recently and the original version is still a great game proves that not much needed to change on the gameplay front.
Mm-hmm.
It just needed like a visual overhaul, you know. And I did not like this game when I first played it. I put it down for a very long time.
Mm.
And yeah, I was of this mindset that remake versus remaster. I was of the mindset that like this just needed to be like a prettier version of Seven. Like yeah, just the same like turn-based combat, but just with updated visuals and voice acting.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted, and that's not what I got at first. And I was not accepting of that for a while.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure there's some old Button Mapper episodes from around that time where I was talking about how I didn't like this game when it came out.
Okay. I think I remember. And it's a fair thought. I've changed as I've gotten a little bit older about like my opinion on some of this stuff. Like I remember back in the day, maybe 8 years ago or something, they were talking about like remaking the original Final Fantasies, like 1 through 6, and talking about like I think they ported them to phones at the time. And so remakes of that stuff kind of came up. And I remember talking about that and they said, "What about Chrono Trigger?" And I said, "Don't touch it. Just make the graphics, bit better or whatever, like update the resolution. And then otherwise don't touch it. It's perfect. It doesn't need to be remade." And to that extent, I think not only do I agree with that still, but I think that justifies what they did here. Which is why do you want me to retouch a game that you think is perfect? Like everybody thinks 7 is perfect. It's not, but it's held in such a certain place, especially nostalgia wise. Why do you want us to like touch that up? Why don't we just take your love for that and create something entirely different? And it's like now I'm kind of with that. Now I think like if they were to say like we want to redo Chrono Trigger, and I see this on Reddit all the fucking time, but they'll be like, why would you remake Chrono Trigger? It's perfect. It's like, okay, why don't we try to make something else that's like Chrono Trigger? That's maybe that'll be perfect too, or maybe it won't. I don't know, but you'll have something else. You'll always have Chrono Trigger. You'll always have Final Fantasy VII. Like it's not going away. They're not going to stop selling it. It's definitely everywhere you can buy games. So you have that, but then you have something entirely different. I think I'm on that train now at this stage.
We'll talk about it later, but I think in terms of that, I think they actually took that idea and like ran with it as like a meta narrative for this game
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways that I actually think is really smart. Um, that when I first played it, I didn't get I didn't get why they had changed so much and like it's just a dumb action game now. Like I just didn't get what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about this stuff later, but I actually think they took that idea of like why would we remake a game that you think is perfect and made that a core element of this game.
Yeah. So this decision to remake it led to the creation of Remake's action battle based system, which draws from that action based style of the city of Final Fantasy. Ooh. Teruki Endo, who had previously worked on Monster Hunter World, served as battle director. The team aimed to retain all the gameplay mechanics popular in the original game, including active time battle, while merging them with the action-based system. So what are your thoughts? And we'll get into the combat, but maybe just before the game released. what were your thoughts on going from turn-based to action-based?
I was not open to it. I remember back before they settled with the format they had now. But do you remember for a little bit they were saying it was going to be like episodic, like a episodic release or something? I remember they showed some of the first battle like at the square and like the first part of Midgar, where you like by the fountain, and you
Mhm.
had they just had like Cloud, Barrett, and I think Tifa or somebody there, and they were like switching between them. I was very put off by
Mm.
that gameplay style at the time, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, I think at the time I was probably offended by it. I was probably like, "Wow, you just dumbed it down and made it like just an action game like everything else." Um, Now, like we said a second ago, but my opinion has changed on that. Um, yeah, I don't need it to be turn based anymore. Like we have a turn based Final Fantasy VII. It's called Final Fantasy VII, so we can enjoy that. So now it's nice to see. Okay, what if that was an action game? I kind of like it.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
at the time though, I'm with you. I was like, why would you fuck up? All they had to do was update the graphics. Why do they do this?
And again, my thoughts have changed too. But yeah, at the
Mhm.
time, I was not down for this.
Same. Yeah. The City of Final Fantasy. Have you played
Why?
that?
Why did they bring that up? Yeah, they're the Dissidia series. I think there's like two entries on PSP that they did like a recent one on PS4 that was garbage. But they're like crossover fighting games with all of the different characters from like one through on the ones I played on PSP was like 1 through 13.
Hmm.
Pretty sure now they've added like Noctis and shit to the PS4. Again, I tried it for like a day and I was like, okay, I'm not playing this. But they're like they, you know the anime fighting games where they're like open field and you run around. They're those, but you play as Final Fantasy characters and you beat the shit out of people,
Okay.
and it's that. Yeah. So I played some of the ones on PSP and they were fine. They weren't really my thing, but it was it was neat to have like fan service where I could play as some of the characters from different games and wail on other characters.
And then Taruki Endo, who worked on Monster Hunter World. That's kind of
Hell
cool.
yeah, baby! Even though, I mean, I'll tell you what. Talk about things changing. I love that game when it came out, and my thoughts have changed drastically. So,
We talked about that on your show at one point.
yeah. I was talking about how I went back and was playing Monster Hunter 3, and then I tried to stream some of World, and I was just like, I was lit down because I was like, man, I loved World when it came out. What happened here? And it was like because it was like very simplified.
Well, early on in development, they were actually getting help from an outside source for the combat. It was from a company called CyberConnect 2.
Who the hell's that?
First formed on February 16th, 1996. Um, they made a list of games here. They
Oh,
started.
they did Dot Hack. That's them.
Yep, they did all the dot hack games, and kind of like what you were talking about, they did all these Naruto Ultimate Ninja.
Oh my god, they did a shit ton of Naruto games.
Yeah,
Oh my, what the hell?
like a lot of anime fighting games. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I know that's an anime.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. They basically keep
Oh,
remaking the same game over and
that's
over
all they
again,
do. Yeah,
and then
that's
they
basically
change
all
the
they.
skin.
Looks like that's all they do. They have one original IP here, outside of Dot Hack, and that's Asura's Wrath on for Capcom.
Mm.
And I remember when that game came out, and that game got some flack for locking its final chapter behind DLC. You had to buy it.
Oh, really?
He had to buy the. I didn't play it, but I remember people were pissed. I remember like watching YouTubers around that time, like Angry Joe and stuff, being like, "What the fuck,
Yeah,
Capcom?" Because because you had to buy the final chapter of the game to like the ending of the game.
that's wild.
What a stupid premise. But
So that's at the time, like 2012, when they were experimenting with that, right? Where it's like, what can we get away with as far as DLC?
yeah, that was around the time they also got caught. Capcom got caught with the on disc DLC for that Tekken Street Fighter game where they had like a bunch of DLC characters that were locked away that were actually just on the disc, and you were just paying to unlock them on the disc. You weren't actually downloading anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got in trouble for that.
It's funny how you think about like just that like because it's really no different necessarily than
No.
having it in the cloud and then you download it from there, as opposed to just you buy a key
But
that unlocks it.
at the time, I mean, like DLC was still a new thing anyway. So just
Yeah.
like hearing that like you're paying for something that's already on a disc you bought was like
Yeah.
pretty upsetting.
Yeah, it really is, and it's weird how our perceptions change over time. I don't honestly, I would still be kind of offended if somebody
Oh yeah.
put it on the disc but was still blocked somehow. Then again, nothing's on discs anymore, which is kind of funny.
Well,
Uh,
and now like games are so predatory that
yeah.
it's like, well, I mean, $12 isn't that much to get just to get my characters. You know, because now it's like pay $20 for a skin or something, you know, or,
Yeah.
or something stupid.
I think Riot recently got a lot of flack because they make a League of Legends. They released a skin that if you were to just buy, like they had a whole thing of how you could get it throughout the game, but if you were to just buy it outright, it was like $400.
Jesus.
It's like,
Now all the now games are just like, okay, you're gonna pay $15 for 8 red rupees, and you're gonna trade in the red rupees for 15 schmeckle coins. And then the
yeah,
schmeckle coins are gonna. I'm like, guys, can I just buy whatever this is? Because I don't want to
yeah.
do this.
How like gangster has online gaming become at this point? Where they're like, you can buy, yeah, like 3 shekel coins. It's like, great. What does that get me? It gets you the lottery ticket to buy potentially more frog coins. Okay.
What?
How do I get this sword?
Yeah, that's all I want, man. Because like I don't play that many
So-
games like that, but I have a few that I frequent, and it's like I never buy anything because I'm always just like I like go on the store and it's like okay, you need 14 silvers, and I'm like okay, it's like but that takes 3 platinum coins, and I'm like okay, it's like well then you could buy 15 rubies to get that, and it's like well it pays $6, and I'm like is that gonna get me what I want?
Yeah, it's gotten to the point on these things. It's like, do you want my money? Like, I feel like we're beyond the point where I can pay you for things because I
Yeah, I
seriously,
don't know if I should give you the money because I don't know if I'm gonna get what I want.
yeah. Okay.
So you know what? Again, so now if they were like, "Look, you pay $12, you get 40 characters," I'll be like, "Whatever, I don't care.
Mhm.
Here, take my
Yep.
$12."
We've been beaten into submission with this so much that we're okay with this. If you're gonna rate me, just do it. Like,
Yeah, just do it.
don't play the mind
sugarcoat
games. Yeah,
it.
yeah. Anyway, interesting. They do like one game. And now one of the more controversial decisions of their development cycle, the decision to release it in parts. In 2017, the game's development focus shifted from being developed with external partners to being a primarily internal project. When the company first started the Remake project, the team had decided the entire scope of the project. There were 2 directions possible: expand upon the original with multiple releases, or include the entire scope of the original game in a single release. The team started to investigate what were the essential parts of the original and what parts are what the fans absolutely had to see. They quickly decided that there were so many parts that are essential, and the fans would be upset if the team had to cut anything out. Again, I don't know who wrote this. A single release with more depth would not be possible without cutting out parts of the original story. In the end, the team decided the best option for the project was to go for the highest level possible, such as within the city of Midgar, which was mostly inaccessible in the original, with an expanded story and multiple releases. Each game is planned to be on a similar scale to Final Fantasy XIII. I hate that that's the basis. The first part focuses on the city of Midgar due to its iconic status among the Final Fantasy community. 3 parts.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
I don't agree with part of what they're saying here with the having to cut out parts of the original story because if I mean again I haven't played Rebirth, but they add garbage to this one that I'm like, was that necessary? And there's like a few chapters in this game where I'm like, that didn't need to be in the game.
Hmm.
So what are you telling me you have to cut things? You're adding shit now. It's like,
Yeah. Well, and I have a lot of issues with this. This is from the Wikipedia, so it
mm,
who knows, but they have references here, so I'm assuming somebody said this to them at some point. Um, One of my concerns here is that they said, in the end, the team decided the best option was to go for the highest level possible, such as within the city of Midgar, which was mostly inaccessible in the original. Feels mostly inaccessible now. There's like 2 towns you can go to, like Wall Market and then the Sector 7.
yeah, you're up top hardly any. You're up top at the beginning, and you're up top like at the very last bit,
Yeah.
and you can't do much there.
Yeah, it's not like it's GTA Midgar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like there's a few parts where you can walk around, but it's usually like, okay, time to get on the train.
Yeah, it's about as accessible as it was in the original.
Yeah, so I don't know what they're getting at there. They
Hmm.
didn't.
Because I think it really wraps up to, if you want to look at it conspiratorially or cynically, you might say we wanted to release it in 3 because it would get us the most money.
And that's failing.
Apparently.
Apparently, Rebirth isn't doing great. So,
Yeah.
yeesh. But yeah, did you know about this whenever you first got a remake? Because I most certainly did not.
That it was in 3 parts?
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
you
I knew
know
about it.
the prior? I didn't know prior.
Oh.
So yeah, so that was another part of it that I got it and I was playing it, and like I think a guy that I worked with, I was also playing it, and he beat it, and he was like, it's just Midgar, right? And I was like, what? I was like, wait, what? I was like, it's just Midgar? He was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not playing this game. So then I stopped playing it.
Yeah. Well, I've got friends that won't play it until all 3 come out. And I can
What's
see,
the point in that?
I don't know, I can see where they're coming from, but at the same time it's like a 40-hour game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can see both sides of it, but I could see where this off puts people from it. But I just think it's for money. I don't think it has anything to do
Yeah,
with
I
an
mean,
artistic
I get
direction.
it. Again, they added garbage that I don't think was necessary, but I guess I get it if this is their vision because yeah, I mean just with doing everything that I could in the main game and going through all that, it still took me like 42 hours. So if that was the point that like you left Midgar and then the rest of the world opened up, I think I would just be tired by that point. I think I would just be I'd be like, I don't know if I want to play this anymore by that point
Yeah.
in the game. 42 hours.
I don't know. It's like, and we'll talk about it later, but I feel like also splitting it up into 3 and then having them spaced so far apart forced them to make the ending like what it was. Because they're like, we
Yeah.
have to have something big because they're not going to have anything for a while. So they have to feel like a certain level of satisfaction. And really, at the end of Midgar, it's supposed to like then open up.
Yeah, that's supposed to be like the beginning of the game. That's the part in the original 7 where you're like, "Whoa."
Hmm.
Like there's a world beyond Midgar, and that's like where the game starts.
Yeah. But like here, they
Yeah.
have to have like an ending. So instead of opening up, it's like, let's give them a bunch of crazy shit. It's like,
Yeah, and they can't have character development because you got a whole story left
right.
where that's gonna happen. So
Yeah, I think it put them in a weird spot.
yeah.
Also, I haven't touched, again, I haven't touched, neither of us have touched Rebirth yet. But like, does that mean that all of the things I built on my character just mean nothing because I'm gonna have to start again from 0?
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I don't know if things carry over. Oh, shit. Do things carry over? I mean, I don't know. I didn't play on
I'm
PlayStation, so
pretty
I don't
sure they
know.
don't.
It seems like something they should have done, right? Is like, I mean, because like they could have easily done. I mean, Rebirth on PS5, they could have easily seen if you had like PS4 or PS5 versions of 7 Remake.
You know what's
Been
the
like,
funny
oh, he's
part of
on here.
that? Funny part of that would be yes, they could probably establish that you've played it before and have like data from it. I guess maybe they don't need all of the data, but they could. But just as a joke, then you would have to have theoretically have to have Final Fantasy VII Remake installed, and then the Rebirth installed, and then also whatever the third one's gonna be. So it would take up like more than your hard drive space.
It would just be like 700 gigs. um, I mean, like, I'm surprised they didn't do that, or I don't know if they did or not, because I haven't played it. But because I mean, all they would have to do is just include that gear and stuff in the new game, and then just be like, well, okay, well, here's the gear you had. Joy.
Yeah, maybe I guess I'll try pretty soon here, but
like, so yeah, that's a good question. So you just start Rebirth raw, just nothing.
dude, how funny would it be if they did
That's
what they do
weird.
and like sequels to other games where they're like, and then Cloud fell into an abyss and he dropped all this materia.
Dude, that's the fucking Metroid problem where like every game is like Samus lost her armor.
Yeah. So this fucking Cloud.
Yeah, but like it's all 5 of them though from the end of this game. So they're all
Yeah. Stupid.
Yeah. That's something I didn't even consider that. I need to see if they do that because I played this on Steam. I played 7 Remake on Steam. And if that's a thing and I ever want to play this before it gets a Steam release, Rebirth, I would have to start because I didn't play it on PlayStation. So that's
well, and it also makes you wonder like why you even like max out on 7 Remake. Like why grind? Why go for the big big stats or whatever?
Why bother?
And then why bother with Rebirth? Because you might as well just do that on the third one. Like that's the only one that it matters. You could theoretically not play the other ones at all and just play the third one, whatever it's called. Revenge.
Revenge.
Sephiroth. All right, you ready to move on to the release?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the release. This should be pretty brief. The game came out on the PS4 in April 10th, 2020. Intergrade version, and this looks like worldwide. Intergrade came out June 10th, 2021. That's the PS5 version. And then it released on Windows on December 16th, 2021. I didn't realize it came out that quickly to PC. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the version I played.
All right. Unreal Engine 4 looks good. I had a thing for this, but I took it out. It was for the developer of Square Enix Business Division 1, which is the most Square Enix name for a company that makes games. And apparently they just like own it's Square Enix's like way of owning like third party companies or something to make them first party. I don't know. It just has like I looked it up to see like what did they make, and it's just subsidiary companies that make stuff. So
I'm surprised they used the Unreal Engine. Remember that there was a while there where they were using like the Crystal engine or something. It was like whatever the hell they made. I think 15 ran on it, right? It was like the Crystal something engine.
Yeah, thank God they got rid of that.
Quickly dropped that thing.
Yeah, because fuck that. When it released, it sold over 3.5 million units worldwide within 3 days. This made it one of the biggest launches for a PS4 game and the fastest selling PS4 exclusive, surpassing the launch sales of Marvel's Spider-Man and God of War. By August 2020, that figure had increased to over 5 million on PS4. By September 2023, the game had shipped and digitally sold over 7 million units worldwide. In Japan, it sold over 1 million units during its first week. In North America, Remake was the top-selling game of April 2020 and the third best-selling game of 2020, behind Call of Duty Modern Warfare, feels good, and Animal Crossing New Horizons. God damn! Remember when that game came out?
Yeah.
I
The
think there's a
war.
case that they caused COVID. Like they're like maybe we'll start
That was-
COVID because we have a game coming out that would be perfect
yeah,
for
like,
COVID.
look, we need to sell our silly little game about dogs and stuff. So, like, yeah, global pandemic. Oh my god, yeah, no, I remember that. I forgot this came out at the same time because again, it's like when I think of like that time period, I just think of Animal Crossing because that's all that was happening.
Yeah, that was literally all that was happening in the country. It was Animal Crossing.
Yeah, no, yeah, nothing else was happening. It
Yeah,
was
everything
just
was shut
Animal.
down, so you just play Animal Crossing. It became the fastest selling Final Fantasy title in the franchise's history, surpassing the launch record previously set by Final Fantasy 15. That's sad.
Did 50 did 50 perform that well? I didn't know that. I mean, I
Apparently.
bought it. So,
Me too.
whatever. Here I am. Here we are.
Yeah.
15 owners.
In the United Kingdom, the game debuted at the top of the weekly sales chart, selling an estimated 60,000 physical units in its first weekend. Looks like it did well in general in these places. Okay, cool. Won some Editor's Choice Awards, etc. What's your memories of the release of it before we go on to the game?
A lot of hype, a lot of ads. They really pushed this with like the ad campaign I remember at the time. It was like like I don't watch a lot of TV or anything, but I watch like YouTube and stuff, and it's like a lot of YouTube ads at that time just for this game.
Mhm.
I had a lot of friends and coworkers that were excited for this title. Obviously, I mean, it's a remake of one of the most beloved games of all time, so people are gonna be hyped for it, and I was also there for it. So I was excited. Seemed like at the time the PlayStation 4 could do no wrong. So, give me Final Fantasy 7 remake. Finally happening. Um, I mean, that's basically it. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't want to go into my thoughts too much on the game's release, but I mean, I was definitely excited, and I could feel that in the air. People were
Mhm.
excited for it. Almost felt like the return of Final Fantasy after what
Yeah,
the
it
hell
did kind of.
15 was.
It
After dudes
did
in a car.
did a little bit. I remember when it came out, and I remember the pandemic was still going on, and then I remember or I downloaded it, so putting it in is not really accurate. But I turned it on, and I remember getting to a point where Cloud gets to go into like a hotel room.
Wait, it's right here.
There you go.
I have it back here. I'm actually selling this. So that was like a pile of games I have listed on eBay.
Ah,
So you at home can buy my copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake if you really want to.
send you a link. Uh, yeah, I got to like the hotel, and then I literally fell asleep. Which is not really a shot at the game. It's just kind of the lethargic nature of the time. I remember I fell asleep during Dragon Quest 11 too.
Do you remember this era of PS4, like the tail end of PS4, when you would have the install disc
I
and then the
buy
play
most games
disc?
digitally, so
Oh,
yeah.
I had a few that did this. This game did it, and like The Last of Us Part 2 did
Mm.
that, where they had the install disc and then the play disc. And that's how I knew that the PS4 was going to die soon. Was because the point in any console generation where you have a disc specifically for installing the game and then a disc for playing, I'm like, well, time's up.
It's
That's it.
all over. That's funny. You're right. You ready to talk about the game?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? No, let's go. I'm just kidding.
I'm out.
I'm out. See you guys later. Spencer, you by yourself.
All right.
You're on your own.
All right. Let's talk about the game. We're gonna hit the story here. Just talk about the plot. Cloud Strife is a mercenary formerly of the Shinra Electric Power Company's elite special forces, known as Soldier, hired by a cell of the eco-terrorist group called Avalanche. to aid them in the bombing of Mako Reactor 1. Mako. Mako? Mako? I think they say Mako in this one.
Yeah, they say
In,
Mako a lot.
in Midgar's Sector 1. Both Avalanche and the cell's leader, Barrett Wallace, embrace the ideals of planetology that posits that the planet is a living organism and that Shinra's harvesting of the planet's life force will lead to the end of the world. Ooh. What are your thoughts on the general story, like the overall concepts of Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Okay, Remake. A few different thoughts there. The stuff that's left intact from the original game, I think, is still good. I mean, one of the best characters is still Barrett, and even though I didn't like his voice acting at first, I came to appreciate it and the character. Um, the just Seven has a great setup in general with the idea of like the city of Midgar and having the people like that are on the bottom rung live literally on the bottom of the city, and then the people that are up top live like literally above them. It's not only symbolic, but it's I don't know, it's just clever.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of of this evil company draining their planet and stuff. I don't know. It's still a really good story in terms of the original like setup from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. I was surprised that they kept the eco-terrorist stuff and like didn't shy away from it, because obviously between Seven's release and now we've had a little thing called 9/11, and I think terrorism has, and granted it's in Japan, so it's their thing, but I mean we're a pretty big market here. You think that terrorism? I assumed like terrorism was kind of a subject that people didn't really want to talk about too
No,
much.
it didn't have. I mean, like we thought. You know what? Yeah, I think we'd be talking about 9/11 today. 9/11 had a big impact on us, but in terms of like Japan,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Well,
not
but
really.
you got to wonder if like from a we got to make this for the world standpoint, they would have shied
Yeah,
away.
that's true. That's true. I don't know. I mean, some developers embrace that. I mean, again, I mean, we talked about. I think we talked about this on the Near episode. 9/11 inspired that game,
Mm-hmm.
Near, which sounds weird to say that a tragic terrorist event like inspired like one of my favorite games of all time. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's just again from the outside looking in. So I don't know. You think maybe like the localization team would have changed it or something, or tried to like
At least shied away from using the word terrorist. Maybe using like eco, I don't know, eco activist or something like that, where it
I don't
doesn't
know. I mean,
seem as.
it's a made up world,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, and ironically, so from what I think might be a taboo subject to a very popular subject is the other part of it, which is ecology. Especially like it's always been, the environment's always been a big deal in politics, but I think now it's more so than ever. Something that comes up in politics and stuff is just the world and like the weather and ecology in
Yeah,
general. So I think it actually in a way also slots in perfectly with today's social narratives. Um,
it's true.
but yeah, classic. I mean, God, you start out with such a bang, literally, of like
Yeah.
you're blowing up a reactor and stuff. But I like that they were able to show you more clearly the devastation that theoretically you caused. They don't shy away from it being like, yeah, your goal was to blow this up, but look at all the people that died and lives that got ruined because of the reactor. I don't know if the original could really show that as well.
No, but they also did something with this one where they were like, you like beat that boss in the first reactor, and then they like the thing doesn't go off the bomb, and then they have Shinra. Remember, like Shinra blows it up themselves.
Yeah.
They like almost did. It's we talked about this on an episode about members today. It's almost the Han Solo effect where they were like, well, we can't have the good guys blow it up, so we're gonna have Shinra do it and blame it on them. It's like,
Mm-hmm. And that's
well,
why, yeah, that's why I almost wonder if they shouldn't have used the word terrorist, because it's like
yeah,
they kind of didn't do any terrorism anyway.
no,
But
they literally none of the things that are labeled as terrorist events are happen because of the main characters per se.
right,
You know? Usually it's because
I
Shinra's like, well, we can do it and blame it on them.
although ironically they tried. They tried
You
to
know,
do
they
Terrence,
tried.
but they
They were
failed.
trying to. Yeah, they were there to.
Yeah.
But
Weird.
still, like, I don't know why they couldn't just have that bomb go off. Why they had to have? Wait a second. No, no, the bomb doesn't go off, but Shinra does it anyway.
Well, it reminds me of, and I was gonna bring this up later, but I think now it kind of works. It's like the Metal Gear Solid effect, which normally bothers me, and in this game it bothers me. In Metal Gear Solid, it doesn't because Metal Gear Solid's kind of stupid. Um, but in like Metal Gear Solid, there's always like a plan going on behind the scenes, and like even though you do things, your character does things, it was seemingly orchestrated by someone else that you would do that thing. Um, and it kind of has that effect in this game where it's like a lot of things are done by you that are actually planned by the Shinra Corporation that's one step ahead of you the entire time. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on that. And we'll get into it, but there's a concept called the Whispers that anyway, we'll talk about that later, I guess. But yeah, I have weird thoughts about when it feels like what you're doing doesn't actually matter because it was like planned by somebody else.
There's a moment of that, and I don't know how in depth we're gonna get with the chapters, but there's a moment of that later on in the game, in like chapter fucking 17 or something, where you meet the mayor of Midgar, and he's like, "Who do you think's been stopping all the security all this time?" And it's like, "Oh, so I have no agency." Like,
Right? Yeah.
Like, I've always been watching your back, and I'm like, "Oh, of course, great."
Yeah, it's really annoying to be told that you could have literally just been walking through everything and it would have been the same result. It's great.
Great. Thank you. So important.
Let's talk about the characters. I mean, they're pretty legendary, but in this game, we're going to be focusing on obviously Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, and I'm talking about the good guys, the protagonists. Aerith, and I suppose Red 13.
He's there.
Yeah. Who's your favorite? Who do you like? Who do you not like?
I think they're all pretty good. I have an issue though with post Final Fantasy VII. Cloud isn't Final Fantasy VII Cloud. Final Fantasy VII Cloud in the original game was never like a mopey guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he even makes like little dumb jokes and stuff in the original script of the original Seven. Like he was never like this serious of a character until like the expansion of the Final Fantasy world and like Seven's world. And then that's the version of Cloud they put in here. And I would be more offended if I wasn't like numb to it.
Yeah,
because
100%.
I already knew that's the character they were gonna put in is like the mopey version. You know,
well that's like every main character after 7 had to be.
Oh
like,
yeah, no,
edgy.
I'm playing 8 right now, and literally Squall's response to like almost everything is like, I don't care. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm just gonna kill myself.
so like I was expecting this to be the version of Cloud we get, the version that's like, well, I'm just here for myself, I don't give a shit. And it's like,
well, also to something that we talked about earlier, it's also like the anime thing, where that's so affected by anime at this point that the character, instead of being like what he was in 7, which is kind of like this guy who's a little conflicted on what to do, but in general is just like, yeah, whatever, I pay me and I'll do it. And then now he's got like, oh, and it's just
well, in the original 7 too, he was interesting in the original 7 because again, you have a full arc of a story in that game, unlike this game, which is just chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, Cloud is an unreliable narrator, and there's moments in the game where like it's clear that he's an unreliable narrator, and you can't trust what he's telling you. You know, in the original game.
Yeah,
and they don't really do that much here. He talks, and there's points where like he's like, oh, my head, and like, you know, like,
oh my god,
yeah, but like. There's never a point like in the original game where, and maybe they're just waiting. I haven't played Rebirth, But there's a point in like the original game where like he's telling a story and Tifa's like, "That's not how it happened." And like like there was never a point like that where like anybody called him out or was like, are you sure? Or like, are you? They're just like, well, he's our friend Cloud, so we gotta trust him.
What is it with Japan and headaches? Do they just need to take some Excedrin? Like, what's going on over there? Every character has to
I
have
don't
like a
know, man.
headache.
Every character has like amnesia, man. And I mean, and again, it makes sense for Cloud because the story that they do present later on in the main game, but it's
Mm-hmm.
annoying. It's very annoying.
Yeah. Cloud's gonna learn, or Cloud's gonna see Sephiroth. He probably has a headache for 10 minutes, where he goes,
Yeah.
ah.
And he's gonna stumble around, and you're gonna walk very slowly down a fucking hallway or something.
Yeah.
And Sephiroth's gonna be like, "Cloud, how you doing today?"
Did you see the new episode of Breaking Bad?
Did you see? Did you see the helicopter bitch part with the badger? I thought that was pretty funny.
It's like, nah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
God, and the Cloud. I think of all the characters in this game, because we're still on the character, Cloud is the most bastardized by far. Because he's basically he is turned into that anime trope, and his relationship with Sephiroth, they're not even fucking subtle because they know what they know what people are here for,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
They
Oh,
don't
especially at
give
the
a
end of
they're
the game.
not yeah, they are not downplaying that shit in this one. They're like, look, you want to see Sephiroth? Here he is in the first fucking hour of the game. There's a vision of him right there.
Right.
It's like, God, okay, well, we're gonna do this the whole game, aren't we?
All right. What about we got the other characters. We got Tifa, Barrett, Red 13,
So
Aerith.
we'll go in like appearance order, I guess. Barrett, like I said, I had issues with his voice acting at first because he is very Mr. T,
Mm-hmm.
like that style of character, which at first I was like, damn. But you know what? The more I thought about it, that just is Barrett in like the original game to an extent too. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna take offense to it because like he's still awesome. Barrett's still
Yeah.
awesome, and
Yeah.
because Barrett's a big scary guy, but he's really like a teddy bear. Like that's why Barrett's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Um,
yeah,
I thought he was cool. I mean, he, he's always been pretty one-dimensional, I would argue.
yeah,
Even though he's got some interesting backstory, but he's still pretty one-dimensional. But he's very likable. And he goes, da, 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 da. That's funny.
Da, 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 da. I imagine because I mean the rebirth chapter is probably where they're going to flesh him out because that's when a lot of his stuff happens. So I imagine in the rebirth they'll probably do a lot with him. But
Yeah.
I thought he was still well done. You can tell he's passionate, and
Yeah.
in the times where the story did take like a serious tone, I thought the character was still portrayed pretty well. There's some fun moments later on where like Barrett actually gets like to interact with the this people that he's been fighting against the whole time, and it's like, well, this is cool, like to see, like like there's a point later on where like he basically says like I could kill you here and now, but I'm not going to do it, because it's not better than that or something. It's like, yeah, that's cool. It's like the character is a cool character. Tifa is Tifa.
She's fucking hot. Like,
Hell
goddamn.
yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah. I think of all the characters, she's probably the one that's been the most untouched. Tifa was never the deepest character either in the original game.
No. No, not at all.
And she's still not that deep of a character.
No. There's not a lot going on there, which is fine. I don't know if there ever needed to be.
No, she's awesome.
She's awesome. She kicks ass. She's fun to play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot to say there. What about Aerith?
I thought this game did a better job of making you. Okay, hot take. All you whiny Final Fantasy fans who cried at Aerith's death and stuff. I didn't really care about Aerith that much in the original 7. she was,
She's not on my roster, not on my 3.
yeah, she was just kind of there, and it was like I understood her importance to the narrative, but I never really cared about it. I think this game does a better job of making you care about her because like you get a more in-depth look at the world, like how grimy and awful it is, and then like she's just like this really pure heart character
Hmm.
that's just optimistic and like you know like the original 7 when you go to like her garden and stuff. It's I don't know. It's still pre-rendered background, so you can't. But this game, when you go to her garden, it's like a big lush area and stuff, and it's oh man, she did that. You know, like
One thing that this game does that the original didn't do a whole lot of, I think it did a little bit of, but not a ton. And they would do this later, and I know in 9 they would do it a lot. Is they give you parts where you have to play certain characters. So now instead of like we said, Aerith never in any of our parties. It's like now they have to be. So you have to kind of play them and learn them and understand them and see the story from their perspective more. So yeah, you do care more about Aerith, I think, in this than you would in the original, which is ironic because in this one she doesn't even die. So like, who gives a shit?
it's not time yet.
Yeah, it's not her time.
Not her time. And those are your 4 party members, but you do get Red 13 at the end of the game. I was disappointed. I love Red 13.
My girlfriend likes Red 13. I don't really care about Red 13.
I like Red 13 is one of my favorites from the original.
Mm.
And I mean, I take it in Rebirth. I mean, obviously he's probably going to be playable. It probably is playable and has a bigger role. But like the 2 chapters he's in this game, he's still cool, and like I like some of his interactions and stuff. But at the same time, he just kind of shows up, and he's just like, I get it, like he's like there to help you, but like they don't really explain why he sticks around. He just is. He's just like, well, you're part of the team now. You're a weird lion dog thing.
Yeah.
Come on. It's
Eh,
like, oh.
I don't know. I never attached myself to him very much. Yeah.
I like Red 13. There were some fun interactions with him because like that's also something too is that like in the original you didn't get a lot of character interactions besides like if you weren't focused on Cloud you didn't get a lot of like the other characters interacting, and you do get that in this where like some of the characters like Tifa and Aerith or like Barrett. There's some moments where Barrett and Red 13 that I thought were like genuinely funny and like fun to
Yeah.
have. Yeah, where like Barrett's trying to like be buddy buddy with Red 13, and Red 13 like fucking like flicks his little fiery tail at him, and he's like you know, it's like genuinely funny stuff,
Yeah.
and like there's some cool interactions like that like again you wouldn't have in the original. So I think in terms of the characters, except for the bastardization of Cloud, I think like I found myself caring about the characters a lot more in this version.
Let's talk about Sephiroth. And then we'll talk about just all the other characters that you might want to talk about.
Why?
I think when we were talking about like when they broke it up into 3 different parts, one of the problems with that is what to do with Sephiroth.
Because he's not there.
Yeah, and that's what everybody's like you said, that's what everybody's here for. Is
Yeah.
they just want to play the ending of Advent Children. So like it was like, how do we make people satisfied with this thing that's definitely incomplete, but we're also going to be releasing in parts? And it was like, let's just give them the Sephiroth thing, but just put it at the end of the game. And it's like, well, that didn't happen, and that's weird because that's the end of the actual game, not the end of Midgar. It's like, well, it's here. Like, talk about blowing your load early.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, we didn't need that. That's weird.
Yeah, that makes me question, are all 3 chapters going to end with a boss fight with Sephiroth?
Yeah, I think they are.
Because I tell you what, by chapter 3, I want to be fucking tired. But I feel like I've already done this twice.
Yeah, this guy again?
This guy?
Well, and how
But,
bullshit is
yeah.
that? Where it's like an alternate or whatever it is that you fight him, and it's like, I beat you, and then he's like, you didn't even get started, and then he leaves.
You don't even know my name. I don't know what he says. He's it's like a fucking Christ.
And yeah, and they have so many
and-
scenes with Sephiroth in it too. It's like,
Yeah, he's like Cloud, be the run, Cloud, be the life. I don't know. He just starts talking random shit to Cloud, and I'm like, dude, like in the original, like they didn't have this connection at all. Like that wasn't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was almost like a one-sided rivalry in the original in a sense.
Well, I wonder if it's just like, well, you would wonder if it's all in his head, but he was definitely there at the
Yeah,
Shinra headquarters. He was there.
yeah,
So I don't know. It's hard to say, but it's weird. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a mishandling of him, but I see why they did it, but at the same time, it doesn't really excuse it.
Well, you can't release Final Fantasy VII Remake without Sephiroth because people aren't gonna be happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna buy the game.
Those dude bro Final Fantasy players are gonna get pissed off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, well, there's no Sephiroth, man.
Yeah.
What the heck?
It's weird too, because like when you think of a JRPG, typically you don't even know who the last boss is until like halfway through. And in
Yeah.
this, he's like in the first, like you said, the first hour.
Yeah, the first chapter.
He's just like
Yeah,
right there.
You're like stumbling through Midgar, and he's like, like things are like on fire around you, and he's like, "Cloud, run, to live."
Do you think, weird question, do you think in the third part, Sephiroth is going to kill Aerith?
No,
You think they're going to subvert that?
I'm gonna explain to you maybe by the end of this, like, but we're talking about the ending. But where again, I haven't played Rebirth, so I could be completely wrong. But where I think this is heading.
Okay, we'll talk about that then.
Yeah.
All right. Any other characters you want to talk about before we move on?
I mean, we get some more times with Jesse and Biggs and Wedge. That's
What's up with
cool.
that?
That's nice.
What?
Jesse's hot. Gets some one-on-one time.
Jesse's
yeah,
hot, but you have Tifa, so it eradicates Jesse.
Oh yeah, no, Jesse doesn't mean shit now. But no, there is some cute again, bullshit they didn't need to add, but there is like that cute little side mission. Like I call it a side mission. It's a main chapter where you're helping them, and you go with Jesse on like that bike ride, and then they raid that base,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's that other guy from Soldier that I'm sure has a name that you fight
Roche?
on the motorcycle. Is that his name?
I think it's Roche. Yeah.
It is cool to like get some extended time with those characters because again, in the original they weren't really there much. They were just kind of there for like the beginning and then they die.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, oh well. So it was nice to spend more time with like the other members of Avalanche, I think.
I think about that as like a trade-off. Like, would I prefer? It's one of those things like, would I prefer it all in one game, or would I prefer to spend more time with Wedge? Because like they're like, we got to cut. We either got to give people this, or we can give them the full game. And I'm just thinking of all the things that they could have cut, and I'm like,
I just love that. I just want that on a diorama. It's like in the office, and it's like, okay, look, here's what we have: full game, Wedge.
and it's just this fat guy.
Get to hang out. Yeah, get to hang out with Wedge. Oh, okay, we're Wedge.
I think we're all in agreement in this room, right? It's Wedge. Yeah, I just think about that stuff, and it's like, it's kind of nice that we get to see them, but I don't really know how much it all added to the story. Maybe it did. Maybe some people like it more.
I mean, they definitely have more characterization, so that is nice. I mean, if this is the approach they're taking, I appreciate that, I guess.
Yeah. If you're gonna give me 40 hours, at least you filled it with stuff.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah, it's a good point. All right, let's talk about the pacing. They asked him, was there ever any concern about adding side quests during main story sections of Final Fantasy VII Remake and how these might affect the overall pacing of the game? They responded, we did not have any particular concerns about adding in side quests. However, we did have a clear idea of what their purpose would be from the start. 1, they would not be compulsory for progressing through the game. 2, that's the definition of a side quest, by the way. 2, they would shine a spotlight on the citizens of the slums to dig deeper into the world. 3, the quest completion status would bring about changes to the costumes in Wall Market. New stories were written for individual quests, particularly from the perspective of Point 2, and from what I have seen, the fans responded well to them. So there's only side quests in like certain parts of the game, at least that I could
Yeah, it's
figure.
only like Sector 7, the one I forgot the area is called, but the area by the where Aerith grew up and stuff, and then like the orphanage, that area,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Wall Market.
Wall Market. That's it. That's
Yeah,
really it. That's really all you have side quests. And I did all of them.
me too.
I did all those fuckers.
Yeah.
And you know, they're talking about expanding the citizens of the slums. I don't know where that was. So there wasn't a lot of that up to me. It's, I mean, there was
Yeah.
like a few characters. There's like Johnny. I remember him. You had to do some stuff with Johnny. There's like that one kid that does the VR headset from Shinra, the research, because that's how you get your summons. There's not a lot of other characters that there's like one annoying one in the that second area where you have to get like records for a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
upset people, like play songs for them. Like,
Yeah, I don't really know how that fleshes out the world and my understanding of it. Yeah, I get that it helps you explore the city and learn more about like
yeah,
where things are. Like that's a good way to learn like important locations of a town. Um, but yeah, I don't know if any of them ever fleshed out the world to a point where I cared. Like they got to matter to one of the characters or something. Like
again, yeah.
these people help Tifa do this. Oh, okay, interesting. That's how
I'm
Tifa.
trying to think. Like, there's like a few characters, like Johnny, the kid from Shinra, and like the woman that owns the place you live for like the first chapter.
Yeah,
Those are the only side characters from the slums I could even name. Aerith's mom. I don't do anything for her.
fuck that
Uh,
bitch.
I, I think you did something for the orphanage once. Oh, the kids. You have to go help the kids. They have their little thing. You use Moogle tokens. I don't know.
It's a game.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know. The side quests for me, they didn't flesh out the characters of the world. They just gave me something else to do
Hmm.
for a little bit, where I was like, it let me slow down for a bit and just enjoy the combat, get some more equipment, get some more summons and stuff, and
Yeah.
before continuing on my path.
I think my problem with the pacing of this game is probably my biggest gripe of the entire game is that, and I think it's part of what we were talking about earlier about the promise of the game, which is if we're gonna spend, we wanted to really focus on Midgar and give people the chance to explore it. I really don't think I got to explore Midgar. I got to explore the same places that I could explore in the original, and if anything, it almost felt more tight. Um, because at least in the original, I could go up, down, left, right, pretty much wherever I wanted to go, and then there'd be a store there. In this, if you really pay attention to the map, it's just like long stretches of you go forward.
It's the 13 effect, yeah. It's the
And I think I wanted GTA Midgar.
Yeah, but you know, and I'm surprised they didn't go with that method because that's what 15 is.
Yeah,
15's GTA Final Fantasy.
right.
And that's a damn action game.
Yeah.
So why didn't they do that?
And I mean, Rebirth is GTA, right? Or open world.
Yeah, that one makes more sense though, I guess. But yeah, that one is if
So it's like, why couldn't you just make Midgar and then let me explore it, and then you can put little quests within it?
or you know, put a pin on the map. Okay, this is where you go to do your next main story. Yeah,
Yeah.
go here. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that. Maybe development costs. I mean, this was pandemic, so maybe some, I don't know. Or it was release pandemic, so it'd be pre-pandemic for development. I have no clue.
I
I
think
have
it
no clue why they didn't go with that method.
I think it really hit me hardest. I think it was chapter 14 or 15 when they give you the last bit of side quests before you
No,
like.
yeah, they tell you, they're like, look, we're going to fucking Shinra, so you better you better finish up.
And so I'm like doing all the side quests, and I'm just like, oh, I'm literally just running in a straight line. And it's like go into the sewer Where's the sewer? It's like down that stretch. It's, oh, okay. It's just like I think the promise of what we could have had is not delivered on that
No,
front.
no, it's not.
I think that's really sad because it's not like we're going to get this opportunity again. And I think that's really what we wanted, and I just don't know that they delivered anything close to that.
Seven remake.
Yeah, I mean it looks pretty though, but
Oh, it's beautiful.
it's really easy to fool yourself, and I think that's what they were going for. Is like, wow, there's like this whole junkyard look, this darkness, this like great place, and even when you climb onto like you start climbing Shinra to the Shinra Tower, and you get to look out on Midgar. Oh my god, it's breathtaking, but you
Yeah.
can't explore it. It's not for you. You're just supposed to be on the little path. Tragedy. Tragedy. Let's talk briefly about the Whispers.
Yeah, let's talk. I don't know about briefly, because man, I got a lot of things to say here about the fucking Whispers.
I couldn't find anything very specific, but I did find in the remake revisited or whatever it is. They were talking about Whispers. Was it important to show Barrett dying? The spoiler alert toward the end, but whatever. You're this far in,
He doesn't die.
and then
Dies in
being
like 3 seconds.
and then being saved by the Whispers to prove that the Whispers are neither for nor against the party, simply trying to correct the course of destiny. We showed Barrett's predicament here as a representation of how the survival or not of a single person can change the destined timeline that the Whispers are trying to protect. However, Barrett is pretty tough, so he might well have recovered by himself, even if the Whispers did not move to protect him. Anyway. The Whispers. What are your thoughts? Well, can you explain what they are, and then we'll talk about what our thoughts are.
The Whispers are strange, robed ghost things that pop up at different points in the story when the story starts to deviate from the original. And usually they'll just correct it. I was going to ask you, because I have my own theory on this. What do you think they represent? Like, what do you think why they're here?
To me, I guess this gets really deep into the whole thing. I think this is an alternate universe. This isn't the 7 that is the original 7. I think it's an alternate one. And they're here to make sure that you do things that you're supposed to do, but they're also going to correct things that went wrong in the original. So they're kind of like a weird dual and oftentimes incompatible role. But I don't think it's going to matter. I think they're going to do it anyway. And that's kind of where my thoughts are. What about you?
And this is where things get kind of deep for me too. And honestly, where I kind of love this game from this perspective, because my thoughts on the Whispers and just the game in general is that the team making the game doesn't want to make Final Fantasy VII again. And the Whispers are almost a representation of fans pushing them in that direction. It's almost like they're it's like a meta commentary. It's like they're fighting against remaking the game in the game.
Yeah.
And because like again, like I talked about this one day at the Button Mappers, but like I'll talk about it here. Final Fantasy VII Remake is called Final Fantasy VII Remake. That is the subtitle. Usually when a game gets remade, it doesn't have the subtitle remake. It just is like, Resident Evil 4 or, Silent Hill 2 or whatever. Remake usually isn't in the name. I think there's a reason for that. And I think it's these fucking Whispers is that reason. I think this is them saying, we don't want to make Final Fantasy VII, but we know we have to fucking do it the way that you want us to do it. Because you're going to be upset.
That's interesting.
And that's what I think the Whispers are. I think it's them saying, like, okay, well, we have to continue making Final Fantasy VII the way you want us to, but we're going to do it in such a way that we can break away from the narrative of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, they're like, we want Sephiroth to kill Barrett. And then it's like, but the fans wouldn't like that. So we're going to undo it. The fans will undo it. and we'll just keep going the way that they want it to go.
I think we're the fucking whispers, man. That's what I think.
That's interesting. I never thought of it that way.
And the spoilers, everybody at home. Just I'm not going to talk about much about the ending, but the fact that the ending does end with the whispers going away, and I'm kind of like, it's like a fresh new start. I think that's a sign of things to come. I think the next two games aren't going to play out the way we think they're going to play out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because I don't think it's the same universe. Because also, I mean,
No.
spoiler: Zach is still alive.
Yeah, Zach's back. Zach's back. Hashtag Zach back.
Guess who's back? Back again. It's Zach.
Zach.
Tell a friend.
Yeah, so
That's an interesting theory, and it's funny because we neither of us have played Rebirth, so it's like I'm sure if some of this has already been tackled, like people that are watching this will go like, "You idiot! It's already there." It's like we just
oh yeah, and I could be totally wrong about this, but this is me tapping into like my fucking Yoko Taro brain, where I'm like, what would he be using these things for if he made this game? That's exactly what I would think it would be. It was it's just like it's a meta commentary, and if that's not the case, if they straight up come out and say that's not the case and that's a stupid theory, I'm gonna be so upset, and I'm probably gonna hate this game.
Yeah, how soul crushing? How soul crushing would it be if they're like, no, it came from Mako.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
No, that's from the live stream. Actually, it was just like, God damn it, guys! You had a chance to like do something that, like genuinely creative and smart with the idea of a remake.
Yeah, that's so funny. Anyway, let's talk about the gameplay, the meat and potatoes. Yeah. So, combat-wise, we talked about this is now not a turn-based game, although it has some slight turn-based elements to it. It is more of an action RPG. You could say it plays a lot like Kingdom Hearts in some ways, just but it's a little more grounded, I think.
It's to me, it feels like a marriage of the two styles of Kingdom Hearts and the active turn-based style, because you definitely can't ignore one over the other.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So,
let's see. We'll talk about certain things, and then I'm going to get into character builds in a second. But we got things like weapon upgrading, materia, and summons.
Oh, how fucking annoying is the weapon upgrading in this fucking game, dude?
Yeah,
just give me a drop-down menu. Stop fucking. I don't want to fucking click on the Buster Sword and then get blasted into another universe, and then and then you have to do that for every goddamn weapon. It's like I spend 20 minutes fucking upgrading my weapons. It's like,
or at least make it like a tree that you can navigate forward instead of like you're on the thing that's like it's cost 4 points to upgrade. Maybe you should try the one that's 14. Where is it? It's to the left, or it's above you, or it's down. I don't really remember. Just find it. It's really sloppy.
Well, yeah, I think of like I'm a 12 fan. I think of the license system from 12, where in 12 it's like each character had a tree for all their licenses and stuff, and you just go in there and you just go, okay, well, I want this character to have gun, power. They can put guns now. So it's like that's all you had to do was just have a simple grid. Instead, they were just like, you go into the menu. You go, okay, which one of Cloud's swords was I gonna? Okay, I'm gonna upgrade this one, and then you fucking like blast open, and then you're like cycling through these different fucking spears and floating through space, and it's like, okay, well, this one says they get more AP, but this one, okay, hold on, what's this one over here? And it's like, I have to do this for every fucking weapon.
and most of the upgrades are pretty boring.
No, the only ones that matter are the ones that add materia. Really, the ones that add materia, or the ones that like boost a simple stat. That's really it.
Yeah, all the other ones
I look for.
Like you take 10% less damage when your health is low. Like,
it's like, well, my health's never low, so that's usually a goal of mine. It's not to have it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of playing against that concept, so I'm gonna not pick that.
Yeah. Usually, I'm just like, okay, which ones add materia? Which ones like up? Whatever, fire or whatever I'm using for this character. Like
Mhm.
which ones do that? Because that's what I want.
Yeah, really strange. I don't really like the upgrade system. I hope it's improved in Rebirth.
If it was up to me, every one of those would have been a chance to hold a new materia. By the end, Cloud would have 45 materia.
Yeah, his sword is just like a rainbow sword. Yeah. Materia itself, I mean, it's pretty much Seven's materia system.
Yep, it's basically the same thing. They haven't changed much in that front, which is good. That's a good system. So
And then summons during we received some materia. Remake features Ifrit, Chocobo, and Moogle, Shiva, Fat Chocobo, Leviathan, Bahamut, Carbuncle, Cactuar, and Chocobo Chick, as well as Ramu and Intermission. Were any other summons planned during development? They said at an early stage of development, we looked over the lineup of summons in the original 7 and decided to go with Ifrit, Chocobo, yada, yada, yada. The reason Leviathan was included is because he was featured in the original 7 demo, so I personally wanted him in the first remake too. We then also added Carbuncle, Cactuar, and Chocobo Chick as pre-order bonuses. Oh, no wonder I couldn't play as those. Great.
dude, I didn't know I had them till the end of the game.
Oh.
They give you, I guess, in the, I don't know if it's the same version or like, or it was just in like intermission or whatever, and not, whatever the fucking intergrade. It was just in that version, but they actually give it to you like as a gift if you go into something. I forget. It's like a menu, and you push like this thing, and they had like 3 of them, and I got them
Oh.
like right at the end of the game, and I was like, I didn't even know I had these. I was like, I could have had these the whole time.
Interesting.
Because like the whole game, I just had Shiva, Ifrit, and Fat Chocobo. Those are my 3 guys.
Yeah, I had Chocobo and Moogle.
I didn't get those. I didn't get Chocobo or Moogle. Did you finish all
Well, they're
the
one.
scan things you had to do? Okay, they're one. Okay, they're shared.
Scan
Did you
thing?
finish all the fucking? What the kid that works for Shinra wants you to like analyze enemies, and you have to have the analyze materia. Do it.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of those?
Yeah, I did a bunch of them. I don't know if I did
I
all
did
of them, but
some. I did some, but I think it resulted in me not being able to get some of the summons
oh, okay. The
because I didn't get that one.
yeah, I definitely didn't have Bahamut.
Yeah, I never saw Bahamut. I never saw Leviathan. I never saw Chocobo and Moogle. But I got Fat Chocobo. Hell yeah.
Nice and fat.
That was my boy near the end of the game. I kept him on Cloud.
All right, well, let's get into the nitty gritty. How did you build these characters? Let's start with Cloud. How do you build Cloud?
Well, I knew Cloud would be my heavy hitter most of the game, right? So I mainly focused on his combat prowess and cure for him because I knew he'd be the guy I'd be controlling a lot.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think. I used Thunder and Cure on him mainly because Thunder. Look, in this game, like most of the enemies are weak to Thunder because they're all fucking robots or they have shields.
Yeah.
It's like Thunder's the best one.
Did you use
So,
the thing that makes all your attacks proc Thunder or proc?
Yeah.
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 Pretty much required. Yeah.
So really, it was only Thunder and Cure that I kept on him, and then everything else, all the other materials I used for him were like for stat boosts or other things like that.
Did you use
parries.
what kind of Buster Sword did you use? Did you use one that's focused on? I don't know the names of them, so I'm not even going to bother. But did you
I
use?
switched.
Oh, you switched. Okay.
I switched around. Yeah. So basically, if I got a new Buster Sword and then like I thought I mean, like some of them sucked. Clearly, like some of them were terrible. Like the baseball bat was fucking awful. But some of them, like by the end of the game, I had that really weird looking one that has like the hilt with all the material in it.
Mm.
But I like switched around as I got them just to try them out, and usually I would try to build around that sword.
I think I found the one that does the most physical damage and stuck with that until the end of the game.
Yeah, that probably should have been the play, but I wanted to try them. The other characters I did like Barrett. I tried to do a few different his gun things, but as soon as I got Big Bertha, that's what I kept. Big Bertha's a beast.
I don't know why this keeps happening, but every time I play Final Fantasy VII, Barrett becomes my healer.
Why is he? That's the no.
Which is weird. But he always ends up becoming my magic user / healer. And yeah, he just heals. That's all he does, and then he
Wow.
casts like I think I have him casting fire.
No, I had him. You know what? I gave him fire too, but I gave him like slowdown, barrier,
Mm.
and I have him do like a lot more ranged. That way, really, he was my distraction for a lot of boss
Yeah,
fights.
yeah.
If Tifa and Cloud were getting the shit beat out of him, I'd be like, okay, Barrett, fucking distract him, do something. and he definitely used the most items out of all of them for me for like Phoenix Downs. Usually, it's like somebody would die, I'd be like, okay, Barrett, fucking give him a Phoenix Down.
I think that's why I build him that way is because he's always alive, and so it's like
Yeah, because he's never that close to the enemy.
yeah. So he can just I can always rely on him to cure slash
You could though,
Phoenix
like
down.
he has. Interestingly enough, he has like physical weapons though, because he has the two that are like actually
Yeah,
like
the
that's
they're like
strange.
balls, right? Aren't they?
Yeah, they're like wrecking ball looking things. It's
Yeah.
like I didn't use them because
That seemed like blasphemy.
Barrett uses a gun. Damn
Yeah,
it!
my Barrett shoots people.
My Barrett shoots people. Big Bertha. Bam, bam, bam.
What about
I
Tifa? How do
couldn't
you
tell
build
you.
that?
Oh, she was my healer. But I couldn't tell you what weapon I use because they're all gloves. I don't know. But I made sure she was viable in combat, and I also kept Thunder at her too because again, Thunder's the fucking the best in that game.
Yeah.
But she was my healer, and I even gave her Prey, which was like, or sorry, not Prey, but you know she has Prey, which is like one of the best fucking abilities in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know how many times we were getting our ass kicked, and I switched over to her, and she had both ability bars full, and I was like, okay, Prey, and she just refills our health.
Oh my god, I never used Prey. God damn it, I didn't know it did that.
What? Yeah, no, Prey was great. Yeah, it was like if she had both bars full, she would cast heal for the whole party.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
yeah, it was so great because like I'd be in the middle of I especially boss fights. Me and Barrett, Cloud and Barrett were getting their fucking ass kicked, and I'd be like, okay, gotta get Tifa to Prey real fast, and then get back to it.
I built her as my fighter. Like I built a lot of attack damage on her, and I think I had her infuse her attacks with ice.
Okay.
Which the ice had very limited. I think it only worked on like the poison enemies. Is where
Yeah.
it did any advantage. But whatever. She's fun to use because she's fun to look at. How about,
Well, she also has some like fun abilities too. When you're in combat, if you actually are playing as her, you can do some fun. Like you can do
mhm.
I forget what her first ability is she gets, but she like basically like doubles down on her power, and then if you use her uppercut, it like does like double the damage. And
Yeah, I
whatever
was
that fucking
doing.
is
I
called.
think it's called Overpower.
Yeah, that. Yeah, it's like
And then
she's pretty tough.
my fist instead of doing the uppercut, it did this like flurry of blows strike. I can't remember. I think it changes with what fist you're wearing. But
Oh, yeah, mine did the uppercut, so like I would just get like a really strong uppercut through that. It would
okay.
deal a lot of damage.
But yeah, she was good at putting pressure on and then adding the stagger bar.
Yeah,
So that was kind of what I used her for. And then I would have Cloud do the damage, do the cool moves.
yeah.
Elephant in the room. What about Aerith? How did you?
Magic. I just gave her a bunch of magic attacks, and I said, "Good luck."
Yeah, she's a little boring. I mean,
I didn't use her.
she
Yeah,
had a
like
unique
unless I
attack.
had to use. Yeah, unless I had to use her, I didn't.
She had that unique attack where she could. It was like infused with magic. Um, but otherwise, you know, I'm a meat and potatoes guy with Final Fantasy VII. I like Barrett, Tifa, and Cloud. Like that's whenever I play it, that's what I do. I really should use some of the other characters, but I like the original lineup.
I used Tifa in Red 13 in the original lineup, so
Hmm.
I was sad that I couldn't play as Red 13 in this one. He was just
Bummer.
there.
Yeah.
Damn it.
All right, let's talk about the bosses in this game because I think they're really iconic. And this isn't they're talking about the Scorpion Sentinel, so like the first major boss, but I think it applies to a lot of it. They said, how are all the Scorpion Sentinel's attacks thought up and created? Some are based on the Guard Scorpion from Final Fantasy VII, but the new attacks and even the way it moves and jumps around are certainly new to Final Fantasy VII Remake. And they said, it goes without saying that we wanted to respect the movements the bosses had in the original game, so we used as many of those as we could. However, Remake switches the gameplay to real time action, so there were a lot of things that we could not capture if we just stuck to the moves it originally had. Even though it is an action game, we went for a system that relied purely on players' reflexes. It would raise the barrier to entry for people who do not usually play many action games. Thus, we tried to make it so that the advantages and disadvantages from where you stand became important and allow players to think strategically about how to approach the fight over a comparatively long time span. The result of looking at the battle from that perspective was that we searched for motions we could use based on an awareness of the Scorpion Sentinel's character. We wanted to clearly communicate things like where is the player from the Sentinel's perspective? Is that the right place to stand or the right distance away? Does that position pose a danger or not? So I wanted to think about like some of the people that had their hand in combat in this game, and one of them that comes to mind is the Monster Hunter guy. So like, I also got some Yoko Taro influence from this. Specifically, I'm thinking the one I played the most, which was Near Replicant, where the bosses have like multiple phases, and they generally feel like very large and cinematic. What are your thoughts on the boss fights in this game?
Um, they're pretty good. I feel like they're some of them are a little too telegraphed
Mm.
with what they're gonna. They basically a lot of bosses are basically like, okay, I'm gonna use my laser now, and then
Yeah.
then Barrett's like, we better get behind the cover.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of that in the boss fights in this game where it's like, okay, I'm gonna jump up in the air and stomp down really hard now, and like the problem with the game is that the combat for the bosses or just in general is designed in such a way where you don't really need to use defend or parry too much. As long as you're dodging, you're okay. And that's basically the best method for every encounter in this game is to dodge.
Yeah.
Like I can count on the number of on my fingers how many times I fucking parry or actually use like the defend button to actually block things. Like
Almost never.
usually I'm
Yeah.
usually I'm just rolling around. And that's a lot of the boss fights for me. It's like rolling around, waiting until I know I can get in there and you know put the pressure on and like stun them. And that's basically all the boss fights too are just stun them, do some heavy damage, stun them, do some heavy damage. Okay, you won.
I
Congrats.
This is not me hating on the bosses in this game. I think it's just more of a personal preference. Is I prefer action RPGs where it's more focused on the fighting and less about the cinematic element of it. And I would compare this boss fight to something like a Dark Souls boss where there's like actual mechanics that you're interacting with, learning it, and then beating him in that one-on-one situation. Now, granted, those fights often have multiple phases, but I don't feel like as removed in those games. I feel more of an intimate fight, whereas these games, it's like I'm fighting to the next cutscene. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well,
yeah.
you brought up the guy that that worked on Monster Hunter. That's like the most anti Monster Hunter thing in the world. It's like like Monster Hunter bosses are made to be analyzed and find different ways to defeat them, and you can do chip damage in different areas or cut off different parts of the boss and like kill all the monsters in different ways. So it's like, yeah, that guy was there, but he clearly didn't implement anything that he had learned because none of that DNA is here.
Maybe he was overruled.
Maybe I don't know because like the a Monster Hunter fight is like very complicated and very one.
Mm-hmm.
It feels triumphant whenever you win. And a lot of the bosses here, I'm like, oh look, it's the funny house from the original 7. Let's kill it. Then I kill it.
I felt like with the bosses in this game, I felt like a level of exhaustion, like
Yeah.
overcoming them,
Some
but
of them drag on a little bit, man.
but not a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah, like
Because a lot of it could be resolved by pressing square a bunch of times. It just felt like
there was that boss in Hojo's lab. It's like the eel, and it's like by the time I killed that eel, I was just tired.
yeah, yeah. It's a lot of
Yeah, I was
that.
like,
It's like where like
don't do
a
this.
if I'm looking at like a Dark Souls type boss, it's like it's an exhaustion, but it's like a satisfactory one where it's like, fuck, I this guy was kicking my ass. It was a back and forth battle, and I beat him. Whereas in this game, a lot of times they just feel like sponges. Where I'm like, I hit square so many times,
Yeah.
and just like his health didn't move.
Well, it doesn't help that every boss you have that's the fucking pressure bar that goes up.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what you're doing. You're just basically trying to see what's the fastest way to get that pressure bar up. Because that's how you're gonna kill it.
Yeah,
Is getting them.
yeah, I felt like a disconnect with the bosses, where it wasn't like I was fighting another creature that was trying to kill me. Is I was just trying to fight the stagger bar.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that. Which is sad because I didn't hate the gameplay in this game. I
Yeah.
did at first when I first played it. Now playing it, I actually like the combat. That's actually why I did a lot of the side quests and like virtual reality stuff. Because like I even liked the areas in like the Coliseum stuff. Like it was fun to like challenge myself. It'd be like, okay, here's like a big Drake guy. Here's robots firing at you. Like figure it out. And I would have to use the party members to like find the most effective way to take out the enemies. But that just didn't transition to the bosses.
Yeah, it's like the bosses. They're like they're gonna do the same amount of damage as like a normal enemy, but like, what if they just had a lot of health? And I don't really like that solution.
The only boss that really gave me trouble and that I had to think about was it wasn't even a main boss. It was a side quest. It was when you go back into the underground lab area and you have to fight like the Bahamut
Mm.
thing. It's like Neo Bahamut or whatever the hell it is. That gave me trouble. That was a hard fight. And that was the only one in the whole game where like I died a good 3 times, and I had to like, okay, like I need to think how I'm gonna approach this fight because the rest of the bosses, I don't think I died
The
maybe
last
once, twice.
the last boss of intermission was really hard.
Oh, I didn't finish
But
intermission.
it just really was like you need to learn how to dodge better, and then once you figure that out, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. But in general, yeah, I'm with you on that. It's like I never really had that much trouble with any of the bosses. A couple of them, maybe they killed me, but like when they killed me, it was like, oh, I have to hit them a bunch of times again. It was kind of like disappointment of going back in,
Yeah.
because it's like now I've seen the boss, so none of the cool cinematics that they have matter. All I really know that I have to do is hit him a lot more again.
Dude, even the final part where you're fighting like the big whisper, and like there's the 3 guys, they even comment on that. Barrett's like, "How many times do we have to fight these guys?"
Oh
And I
my
was like,
god,
"Yeah,
yeah.
you fucking tell me, because I'm tired of fighting these guys."
Say it, Barrett. Oh my god.
That's what I'm thinking. How many times are we gonna fucking do this?
Yeah. So, I mean, the game is essentially broken up into you're doing and it's mostly Midgar, like under city Midgar, and then the fight at Shinra headquarters, and then leaving Midgar, and those last two are like 2 chapters.
Yeah.
What do you think about like how they handled the Midgar or the Shinra stuff, and then leaving Midgar?
I wish we had more time with the Shinra building, because it seems like there's a lot more there that we could have explored and interacted with.
Mm-hmm.
But God forbid they had to get the chapter in with the ghost train area, ghost train graveyard. That had to be there. That somebody
Yeah.
said that has to make the cut.
It was in the original. It has to be here. Everyone will be angry if it's not.
Like there's so much that I actually liked about this game. Like I liked this isn't the Shinra stuff, but earlier in the game when you get to explore like the underground lab and stuff, like that was pretty cool. Like I like seeing a lot more of like Shinra that we didn't get to see before. And it was something that I liked in the ending chapters of this game too. I really liked getting to climb the building, seeing like the more corporate side of Shinra, seeing a lot more with Hojo. Like it was neat. Like the chapter near the end where you're just almost exclusively focused on Hojo almost felt like a Resident Evil game. Like the end
I
of
was
Resident Evil
thinking
game.
that too.
Yeah, it like it feels like the end of one of those games. You're like in like an umbrella facility and stuff, and I was like, this is fucking cool. Like this is a cool area.
I guess that's where we differ. I thought it took away from it. I thought it's like this doesn't really feel like Final Fantasy right now. This feels like yeah, like I was literally thinking like Resident Evil 2. I was getting like flashbacks from that game, like at the end where you're like
Yeah.
in like a laboratory. I don't really like it. I didn't. I don't think Final Fantasy 7 should be a horror game.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true, but I don't know.
But I mean, if you
Maybe
like
that's
it,
just
you know.
maybe that's just my Resident Evil fanboy coming out.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it wasn't done poorly. I just didn't think that it fit what I like about Final
They
Fantasy.
did do an awful job explaining anything, and I get why. They're basically like, okay, Hojo's doing some crazy stuff, and then like there's Genova. What is Genova? Who fucking cares? It's gone now.
Yeah.
They never explained it. Cloud's like mother, but like they never talked
Mommy.
about what it is. Like if I was in the spooky lab and there was a lady in a jar in the middle of the lab and this Cloud called it mommy, you know what I'd probably say if I was fucking Barrett? I'd be like, what the hell is
What
that?
the fuck are you talking about, Cloud?
I would ask questions.
Yeah, I was like, I ask questions.
I wouldn't just be like, okay. I guess that's Genova.
Cloud, you
Makes
headache?
sense to
You
me.
got a headache again? And he's like,
Cloud, hold on. I got some ibuprofen in my satchel over here. Hold on a second.
I love the idea of like Barrett having like a fanny pack.
Yeah, he just has.
Ibuprofen.
Well, he's got it for Avalanche. You don't know what's gonna happen. He's got like an ice ibuprofen, like some bandages.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the very, very end. You have two major fights, one against Sephiroth and then one against like, yeah, those
The whispers, I
giant
guess.
whispers.
Oh, just yeah. One of them didn't need to be there, and I think it's this fight with Sephiroth didn't need to be
It
there.
was basically Advent Children, like, but you play
It's
it.
yeah. It was like, okay, we're gonna have a one-on-one, and then all your friends start showing up, and then like you just fight them 3 times basically, and then he's like, okay,
And then you
this
end
is
up on
the
on
real
the moon or
fight.
something.
I don't know. Oh yeah, and then you get wait, is it during that fight you get visions? Oh no, never mind. It's in the whispered fight. No, it's that fight's the Sephiroth fight is so pointless. It's only there to be like, look,
Fan
there's a
service.
Sephiroth fight. Yeah. It's only there to be like, look, he's in the game. You can fight him.
Very disappointing. Like we said earlier, I know why it's there. I think we both know
Yeah.
why it's there, but it's like it's just disappointing that it has to be that way.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it didn't have to be. Like they could have left a lot of the stuff. I mean, technically they never explain any of it, but they could have left a lot of it to be more mysterious.
Mhm.
Because I imagine there are people that are playing this game and this is their first time experiencing Final Fantasy VII. Which, if you are, I'm sorry. You should probably just play Final Fantasy VII and then come back to this. But
Mhm.
if this was my first introduction to this world and those characters, I'd be a lot more confused with who this guy is and why I'm fighting him and why I'm on the moon than anything else. It's bad. It's just fan service.
It's just fan service.
It's the end of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes. Oh, who made
What
this
it
game?
is.
Anyway. Okay. We got that out of the way. What's the deal with these whispers?
I've already explained my theory, but
at the end of this fight, yeah, like this big boss fight. What's going on?
Yeah, you fight the big whisper, and there's some little whispers. You have to fight the damage the big whisper, which also seems like such a missed opportunity to let me fight a big boss instead of like I thought I was gonna like kill these 3 guys and then go fight the big whisper. And I was like, that'd be awesome. If I'm like it's Cloud versus just fucking like giant thing. No, you just fight the 3 things 100 times. It whittles down the health. And then like Barrett's like, I could shoot it in the face or something.
So, do you think the stuff where like you see cutscenes from the original? Do you think that ties into your theory of like that it's the
Yeah,
fans? Okay.
yeah. I that and also my theory that they're not going to follow any of this shit. That
Yes,
yeah,
100%.
you know,
Because they're like
yeah,
this has happened some like in a different world.
yeah,
That I was thinking that's kind of what led me to my thing was that, like they're like this. These are things that will happen in a different world though, and then it's like so none of that's actually going to happen in this one.
yeah. This is them wanting to break away from it. It's basically them. It's like fucking Final Destination or something where they're like, look, Eric's gonna get stabbed. And it's like, oh look, whatever. I don't know. I forget what they showed for all the characters. I was surprised when Barrett got his. It didn't show fucking dying, falling off a cliff or something. I was like,
Yeah, yeah. Barrett has a backstory. That's all we know. I don't know if
that's
any of
all.
us really remember everything that happened there, but
But yeah, they that's my theory is that they're just this is their excuse to just basically rebirth and whatever the hell the third one's called, reunion, revenge, whatever that's gonna be called.
reunion.
Basically,
That's what it's
that's
going to be
that's,
called.
that's probably it, right?
Yeah,
This is their excuse to basically make those brand new games.
gotcha.
So
Okay. And again, we haven't played a Rebirth,
again,
so
I could be totally wrong. I'm not reading the comments to this episode, by the way. So if you're blasting me in the comments, telling me how wrong I am and that Rebirth does this and that, I'm not reading it.
I'll text
So,
I'll text you them.
don't text
I'll send
me.
you them in text messages, and it
I don't
won't be
want
like
it. I don't,
it won't be like this is something that somebody said. I will just text you exactly that. Be like, you idiot.
no. I don't want to know because you know what? Again, I don't have a PS5, and Rebirth is probably going to come to PC like in a year, and that's when I'll play it. So
Gotcha. All right, you ready to talk about the legacy of this game?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the first thing that they released after it was Intergrade, which was just so you could play it on a PS5 and I guess then on PC.
Yep.
I don't
played
know
on
how
Steam Deck.
many improvements there are, except for I'm sure graphical and whatever.
I don't know. I don't know what all they add. I mean, they add an extra chapter. Talking about that, but other than that, I don't know what else like fixed. I'm sure something fixed.
Let me look it up real quick.
But yeah, that's. I guess I'll just babble for a minute. That's how I played it. I actually I have Integrate on Steam, and just for you people at home, in case you're wondering, it does run very well on the Steam Deck, but also beware that it's going to eat your fucking battery for lunch if you try to play it handheld. I mainly played it docked with the controller.
Oh
But
wow.
I did play a little bit handheld, but yeah, it's one of those games that's just like the Steam Deck can do it, but should it? It's just like it just eats the battery.
That's ironic. You got the upgraded version of it to play it on probably a lesser hardware than the original.
Yeah, then yeah.
Okay, so it allows you to play the game in a 60 FPS performance mode. Gives you access to the Yuffie side story DLC. Gives you the ability to pay for things. Gives you some new combat arena fights unlocked through the intermission DLC. Nothing major. That's about it.
Great.
There's some balance changes, but that's about it. Okay, the next one is Intermission, which we both played. I beat it. You got towards the end. Did you get to the second chapter?
No.
Okay.
I was gonna play a little bit more, but I didn't have much time. But I was honestly not that worried about it because I beat the main game, so I'm not. I mean, I am gonna go back and like I am gonna finish it because I heard it's only like 4 hours or something, right? It's not that long.
It's pretty brief.
But yeah, I only played the first bit.
Yuffie is annoying as shit.
Yeah,
She
I better
isn't.
tell that.
She's an anime girl character, and she never stops being an anime girl character.
I could tell by the point where they got to like the they're going to get the fake IDs and the goons are coming on to like the other lady that's with them, and she's like, "I'm a girl too," and it's like, "Get out of here, kid!" And it's like, "No, I'm a lady." It's like, oh my god, is this fucking character? Is this who this is going to be?
You're almost at chapter 2.
Oh, okay.
She gets like a friend who's another Wu Tai guy. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he's new. He's new. I don't know his name either. He's new. He's got a sword.
Yeah,
Or something.
he's a character. the second half of the game is in the Shinra headquarters,
Okay.
and it turns into, because you can see how lazy they got. It just turns into like a generic keep fighting enemies game. They're like, I'm going to test your skills, the big titted blonde lady says. And then she pushes you through like a series of fights on like an elevator. And then the last boss fight is a character I've never heard of called Nero that is godlike in strength, and he's
Did you
very
say
hard.
near?
Nero. Did you say Nier Replicant?
Is near the final boss? Yeah, you could tell that this was like an afterthought. It's just something they were like, we got to get people to buy it on PS5 again.
Yeah, it's interesting that it takes place at the same time as the game.
It takes place at the same time that like Cloud is with Aerith. Like when he falls,
Mm-hmm.
that's when because like you see Tifa and Barrett and they're talking and Tifa's says she mentions going to Wall Market. That's like right where that is going to happen. So it's like interesting to see that.
And I mean, spoiler alert to you, I guess. I don't know if you care, but it's not like a secret. But the game ends essentially when the Sector 7 plate falls.
I don't care. I mean, and look, I don't give a fuck about Yuffie. I never have.
Never have, never will.
I don't give a shit. If they like offered me another character, I guess she's the one that it makes sense for her to be there. I mean, Vincent's like asleep in a coffin, and fucking Sid's like smoking a cigarette somewhere, on a rocket ship.
What about
so
King
it makes
Sith?
okay. So it makes sense that Yuffie's the one that they brought in, but it's such a bad introduction for the character. I think
it's not good.
The only enjoyable thing I had was the fact that they made Fort Condor a tabletop game in the game. I like that. That was fun. So I was like, this is cute.
I gave up on that pretty quick.
Yeah, it's pointless, but like I don't know, it's kind of fun. I kind of wish this was just in the regular game. I could just fucking take a break and play a round of Fort Condor.
Okay, the last thing is obviously they released Rebirth this year. Are you going to be playing it?
Once I can.
Once you can. Okay. I part of me wants to start now. I saw it was on sale. Another part of me is like, other games are coming out that I really want to play. I don't know if I'll really have the time to play both because they're always RPGs. So I'm not sure. But what I really want to talk about is part 3. What do you think is happening in part 3, and what are your expectations? And what do you think it's going to be called? And we think it's going to be called Reunion.
Reunion's a good one. I think it's going to be. I think again. Everybody at home, I have not played fucking Rebirth, so I don't know.
Neither have
I think here's my predictions for Rebirth and Reunion in terms of like the basic plot. I think Rebirth is going to end with a big battle with Sephiroth and Cloud falling into the life stream, and that's where Reunion's going to pick up. And I think by the end of Reunion, I think like Cloud, Zack, and Sephiroth are going to like kill some god or something. I think that's where they're going to lead. I think it's going to be like Sephiroth's a good guy.
It's going to be like a fat fan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some overweight guy with a Moogle hat on. Yeah.
No, he's got a fedora
with a Buster Sword tattooed on his like fat arm. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think wherever we think they're going to take it, that's not where it's going to lead.
How do you think fans of the original would respond to something like that? Like the people that this is theoretically made for.
If they didn't get mad at this game, I think they're okay. I think we're in the clear.
You think so?
Because this game like starts out, it's like, oh, it's 7, and then it immediately says, well, not really.
I don't think it's enough of a detour for them to be upset.
You don't think so? I guess that's true.
And I think they put in enough.
Like even when they do change, like the second that Barrett gets stabbed, they're like, "Well, nope, never mind."
Right, right. I don't know. I think if you didn't have something like the Aerith dying scene, they would get mad.
So you think Aerith's gonna definitely die?
No, I don't think she is. But I think by the time they make this
Cloud
we're
dies.
calling it reunion. Yeah.
Cloud dies. Aerith fights Sephiroth.
Turns out Cloud was gay and then he gets killed. Like that's how it's gonna end. I think that'd be
And
the
they kid.
funniest fucking ending to this game. Um no, I really do think they're gonna change a lot of that, and I think it's because it's the third one that they're gonna be like, well, we already got the money. So let's just do what we
I
really
think,
wanted to do and just
and
really detour it.
they didn't. Again, I haven't played Rebirth. They didn't touch upon it too much. They did. Zach's here for some reason. We don't know why or how. If they're doing the alternate timeline thing, that's the easiest cop out for them being like, okay, Sephiroth, we have to kill an even worse Sephiroth. Like what?
Sephiroth
You know,
2.
like if that's what they get, I'm not gonna be okay with that. If that's the direction they go in.
You think it should still
They're
end
like,
with like Cloud and Sephiroth somehow, or
I think so. I think yeah, but I I have a suspicion they're not gonna let Sephiroth be the main bad guy because he's so popular. But that's really what they should just do because he's a good villain.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, he's a good villain in the original, not in this game. I should say that.
I agree. I'm excited. And in 4 years we'll play it and it'll be
How
great.
the hell are they going to do anything with the live stream and them finding out that fucking Cloud is basically, you know, he was wrong about everything? If Zach's here,
Zach will be like, "Hey, I was here the whole time." And he'll be like, "Oh shit."
hey, yeah, hey, that's my sword. Hey, you weren't.
That's my sword. Well, not that one because you're using a different sword that you
Yeah, but I
bought
got
from
like a
the Wall
different.
Market. But it's in concept, that's my sword.
Yeah, and all those memories are mine. That's cool. Like, are they just gonna glaze over that? Whenever like Cloud talks about like the big confrontation with like Sephiroth and like burning down the city, is that gonna be like, well, actually that was me? They're just gonna keep walking
Oh shit,
because that
Zach.
seems like a problem.
Yeah. I don't know how they'll handle it. Clearly, nobody's made an uproar,
was
so they
was
must tackle it
Zach
in
that
Rebirth.
popular of a fucking character? I mean, like I played Crisis Core. Was Zach that popular of a damn character that he had to be in this?
I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
Well, correct us if we're wrong, everybody, but that's the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yep.
We did it, man. It's about 2.5 hours. Not bad. Reasonable.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on Final Fantasy VII remake?
I like it. um, I think it sets out to do something ambitious with the idea of a remake, and I think it succeeds for the most part. There is a bit of sloppy executions and lost potential, but I think in terms of creating a direction for like a new Final Fantasy VII franchise, I think this first game at least does pretty well. And I definitely found myself enjoying it this time than I did the first time I tried it. So I like it. That's pretty good.
Yep. Man, I like it, but it's complicated. Anyway, thanks so much for doing this, man.
Yeah, I'm down to talk about some Final Fantasy.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and check out Alex's channel, Turbo Zone Gaming.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
And I'll see you guys next time.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.